Welcome back to Derailed. Jake Schyvinck, my co-host. I am JJ Lahey. Happy you guys are joining us tonight. Thank you, Brian Maffey. I love you too. Thank you for your lovely message. Too old for this says I come for the ed. Stay so I can leave once the boys start talking college ball. Too old for this famously doesn't even know what college football is. Tyler Dershel. I officially sent off my wedding invitation to Ed Policy today. Good choice. Good choice.
Yes.
It's not too far off from inviting the President of the United States or God. So,
Yeah.
at the very least, hopefully he sends a very nice gift. Tyler, you should tell us more about your wedding here because we want to be happy with you. Too old for this. Ed Policy looks like he's taking a ring to a mountain to throw it in the fire. No, that's not nice. It's a little bit nice. Elijah Wood is a very attractive individual, so it's not the worst compliment. Jake, how you doing
it's a
tonight?
compliment. It's good. We're chilling. I know it's been a while to kind of wait and work through Thursday night's game and all that, and of course, we kind of had our college stuff kind of come to an end. I don't know how much we'll see that later in this one, but I'm excited. Stretch run, a lot of playoff spots kind of being decided. I know it was a very, very scary situation. Green Bay's playoff odds went from 99% to 98% this past week. So, really going to sweat out these last 4 weeks. I hope I didn't just jinx that by saying that. I'll knock on some wood here. But yeah, JJ and I were kind of talking before, and I'm like, I think they're going to finish with 12 wins. That will be enough. Spoiler alert, to get in the playoffs. So yeah, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, looking at the remaining 4 games of the schedule, we have, of course, the Seahawks game, Monday night game. Is back-to-back primetime games here. Packers Sunday night in Seattle, Monday night at home against the Saints. I would personally kind of be surprised if they lost either one of those games because those are just the type of games that the Packers tend to show up for. Thursday games, not usually, at least not to the same extent. But like Sunday night, Monday night, the Packers managed to get together, and show up more often than not. So after that, you got back-to-back division games against the Vikings and the Bears. As far as I know, the Bears game has not been scheduled yet. We don't know what time that'll be. The Vikings game, of course, is a noon game.
I don't think the Bears game is going to be for like anything. So I fear that will be an early game, folks. I don't think we're. Listen, I even, to be honest, I know we've talked about it a few times. I thought actually something might be on the line with that game, Week 18. I don't think it was going to be a win and in situation in terms of like losers out of the playoffs or anything. But I felt like it might come down to it for Chicago. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So I imagine that's going to be an early game with zero going on. Heck, Green Bay might even be locked into where they're playing. Like there's a chance that they're like, oh, you're the 6th seed already, and you're going here. Like that would be, it's possible.
It is completely plausible that is Malik Willis versus the Bears.
It is, yeah.
Malik Willis and the backup offensive line, which should probably still include Sean Ryan and maybe
little Kadeem Telford action.
Yeah, that you know what, I would be down for that, and I would maybe still take the Packers in that situation. I mean, we beat the Bears with Brett Hundley, so I don't see why we couldn't beat the Bears with our entire second string.
Should Jordan Morgan play tackle in that game, or should we just make sure he's staying at guard?
Jordan Morgan should 100% play tackle in that game.
Okay,
100%.
I lean that way as well.
I mean, here's the thing, like, I want Jordan Morgan to play tackle long term. I know Brian Maffey does not.
Yeah.
Or actually, I shouldn't speak for Brian. I don't think he wants Jordan Morgan playing tackle.
No, I don't believe so. No.
Brian Mafia just hops in the chat
No.
right now and says, let's get the
No.
derailment started. How surprised are you guys that Will Lee decided to go back to school?
Brian, I saw you put that in chat. That's true now? You've confirmed that? Because that hurts. That hurts a little. Maybe we will have to sign DJ Reed.
What about Bill Belichick going back
he
to
is.
school?
That will be something. I feel like it's going to be like an election term. That's how long he's going to stay there. I think if he indeed gets the job, I do think it's going to be like a 4-year situation at North Carolina.
Jake Jewell for this wants to know who Will Lee is.
Cornerback, Mississippi State, or no, Texas A&M. Gosh darn it, those two freaking maroony looking SEC schools. They're the same to me. Not good enough. Blah blah blah.
I don't want to miss this. Where'd it go? Here we go. Too old for this. At what point do the Bears request a trade from Caleb Williams and leave him in Chicago? You know what? I'm going to press the little gold star button. I don't think you guys can see this, but we have a gold star button back here that we can just favorite comments for all eternity. For example, from last week. Oh, did you get rid of them?
I haven't gotten rid of anything.
Oh, I wonder if it's
this one's here. This one was here from last week.
Yeah, it's not there for me anymore.
It's not.
Can you put
you can't see this?
I can see it when you pin it. It's not in the list for me anymore. That's why I thought you got rid of them.
Interesting. No.
This is
There's 5
this is
of
the
them
part
here.
this is the part of the podcast where the audio only listeners are like, "What the heck are you guys talking about? I can't see anything."
I know.
Which is why you should be watching the video.
That's why you should be here
podcast.
anyway, but you know.
There are
That's fine.
a couple of great ways to consume this podcast via video. The best of all is to watch it on YouTube, on the Jake Schyvinck YouTube channel, because that is the easiest way for you to participate in the conversation, put your questions and on screen during the live stream. You can also, if you can't catch it live, you can either watch the replay on YouTube or you can watch the video replay on Spotify as well. So that's true.
Also, we're working on some stuff. Derailed Football might be an email that's been created. So, you know, so that some of that information might not be accurate in a couple weeks. We'll see. But not the video not playing on Spotify. That will be. But there might be something being set up. So
you're making us a new YouTube channel for
I think
Derailed?
it makes sense. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Listen, folks that are tuning in right now, we better not lose you when we move to an official Derailed Football.
Well, no, that
YouTube
won't be
channel.
hard. The subs here will know where to go because if they follow stuff, they'll know. I'll put it in a post on the channel. It will link that.
If we suddenly lose Too Old for this,
to go. We won't lose.
And
Too
we don't
Old
have
for this.
Office memes anymore.
Hold on a minute. Don't you at both Tyler and Too Old for this on Twitter when you drop the link every week?
Of course, they're basically
so then they'll
moderators.
Yeah,
they're basically moderators. I just don't know how to moderate them, and we don't. Want them to be moderated
we can do
anyways.
that.
So they are the unmoderators, is what they are.
Oh, I feel like we could probably make that a thing.
Brian Maffey says it's not that I don't want Jordan Morgan to play tackle. It's just that I don't think he can't. It's just that I think he can't play it on a consistent level in the NFL. But isn't that the same thing as not wanting him to do it? Like, for example, okay. I don't think that Chris Brooks can consistently catch passes on 4th and medium. Ian got to have situations.
4th and medium.
And so therefore, I don't want him to be doing it. You don't say and medium, Jake?
No, 4th and medium. I was so specific, and I like
because it's happened like 6 times, and before him it was Patrick Taylor. Who, by the way, might be starting
does that
for
mean,
the 49ers.
Does that mean Chris Brooks is going to San Francisco at some point?
Everybody either goes to San Francisco or Minnesota or
We could go
Detroit,
to Minnesota.
or occasionally Chicago. But I think Chicago is lower on the list now. They snipe fewer of our players than the other ones do.
Sounds like a problem on their end. So
Too old for this. If you get a random dude named Not Too Old for This on the
that's
new
good.
channel, it's
That's
not me.
good. That's good.
Hey, if we get if we were big enough that we actually had some jokers doing stuff like that, I would be thrilled. If we had people who were that into it,
That'd be a good time.
I would be thrilled.
That would be a good time.
Jake, we should eventually at some point we should have maybe we do like a featured interview section or segment or something on the show at points.
Okay.
Here's kind of a wish list of people that I'd like to get on.
Okay.
We need Too Old for This.
Okay.
We need Tyler Derschel. I think we should have Brian Maffey come on during draft time.
Oh, sure.
Brian 100% would come on. He loves us. Ed Policy. Duh. We need
Yes.
Ed Policy.
On Ed Policy Day. That would be
Maybe
legendary, folks.
Okay,
No idea.
we need your help. We need to get this big enough that by June 4th, Ed Policy Day, Ed Policy will have heard of us and be willing to come on this show.
Yes.
Brian Maffey says he's going to create a Railed
That's
account.
we're
Brian,
Not, we're not doing.
Brian,
We're not doing that.
Brian.
Not doing that. I think those have been created. Probably.
There's a lot of them. There's a whole. Yeah. Okay. That's its own genre.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. The artist formerly known as Twitter has plenty of those. All right. Let's get back on track a little bit here.
Dude, there's so many good comments that
know
we haven't even
why I
been
said that.
able to put on screen yet because they're football related, and we are. Where did this come from? Packers Kingdom says, "I want Micah Parsons." Where do you think we're gonna get Micah Parsons from?
Maybe
Do
he
you want
wants.
TJ Watt
Maybe he
as
wants
well?
Abe Micah Parsons.
Do you want?
That's also not easy to find.
Patrick Mahomes.
No,
Actually, nowadays
No.
people probably don't.
I don't.
I did. Okay, Jake.
I want Arch
and
Manning.
this doesn't exist anymore.
That's who
This
I
doesn't
want.
exist anymore. But I wrote a blog post back in
Okay,
I think week 2 of 2018.
that's the one. Too old for this. I want Godzilla. That's the one.
There we go. I'm pressing the star button.
Playing nose tackle.
Okay, Jake, I wrote a blog post back in week 2 of 2018 in which I declared that the Packers. So think back to week 2, 2018, where we were. All right. So this was we had just had the Vikings
was
tie game, right? Wasn't that week 2?
That was week
3?
2.
I think that was week. It was either week 2 or 3.
I want to say that was week 3, but now I'm looking.
It might have been. I think it was right after the Vikings tie game
Okay.
because we beat the Bears in
Yes.
week 1.
Yes, we did.
This was
No, the tie
Rodgers
game was
comes
week
back
2.
on.
No, it was.
The tie game was week 2. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And after that game, I wrote a blog post. It doesn't exist anymore. That the Packers should straight up trade Aaron Rodgers for this young kid named Patrick Mahomes, who had just started his second game in the NFL. Now, even in hindsight, that was still not the right call.
Whoa.
But I've always at least been like kind of fond of just the way it aged. Not saying it aged well, just the way it aged. I've always been fond of it.
Yeah. I had him in fantasy that year. He threw 50 touchdowns. Okay.
Yeah, I had him
That
in
was
fantasy
great
that year as well.
That was a great time.
I drafted
So.
him in like the 6th round or something.
I drafted him like 11th.
No, that's the
Know your draft, people. Know your draft.
So that was the first year that I was in my current fantasy league that I'm still in to this day. And the guys in that fantasy league are a bunch of animals who start drafting
turtle?
quarterbacks in round 2, and they are all gone by like round 5. All of them. Like you are drafting.
Oh.
I mean, you're drafting 2024 Andy Dalton in like round 8 just to have a quarterback on your roster.
Oh.
They're animals.
That's wild.
It is very weird.
There was one year in my home fantasy league that a quarterback didn't go until round 5. Like, they just don't go. So.
Too old for this. I'm drinking non-alcoholic Corona. It's great. Tastes like Corona. Gets you sober like not drinking alcohol. It's a great way to put it. I actually, I'm going to be honest, as a kind of Corona enthusiast, I didn't know they had a non-alcoholic Corona. I really like drinking non-alcoholic beers just whenever I can.
Athletic Brewing has some good ones, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I just emptied my drink fridge of a bunch of non-alcoholic Athletic Brewings over the holidays.
Those are solid.
Thanksgiving. Need to restock. What's the blue one? The blue one.
Oh, yes.
It's like a hazy. I think
Yeah.
it's a hazy.
Yes.
That's a good one. It's like really sweet, but it's still really good.
Yeah. Which is doable, people. Some people think it's not doable. It's doable.
It's absolutely doable.
You sent me on a rabbit hole here on my other monitor, looking at the Green Bay Packers 2018 season. Forgot they shut the Bills out 20-22-0. And Josh Allen completed
shutout until 2022, I think. It was the Seahawks game. Either 2021 or 2022, it was Seahawks, and the final score was 17-0, and that was the next time we shut anybody out. How do I remember that?
I don't know. But Josh Allen, under 50% completion, 2 picks. It's just crazy to reminisce after he is
that was
now
Josh Allen. He
back-to-back
wasn't Josh
weeks.
Allen. He was Josh Allen.
Now we've watched Josh Allen do historic stuff back-to-back weeks. How far we've come. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Very fun to reminisce.
Dershold says he drank his last pink lemonade ghost today. Thought of me and that looming sponsorship. Heck yeah. I can't wait for Ghost to sponsor us. Here's the other thing, though. I don't want Ghost to only sponsor us. I want them to also send me some kind of cool merch that I couldn't just like buy online. Some sort of exclusive merch.
That'd be pretty sick.
Oh, this is perfect. In another universe, the Bears drafted Mahomes, and now he plays for the CFL. That has never. That is so perfect.
I truly, truly believe that we asked that question a couple of years ago, right? We're like, wow, what if the Bears had drafted Mahomes? We're living it. We're living it right now. This is what we're living. This is this. Caleb is this.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams right now is, what if the Bears drafted Mahomes? It is. It is that. It truly, truly is that. Like, we are getting to live what that potentially could have looked like. Which I think is
Ryan
very
and I
fascinating.
Went back, we went around hundreds of times in the last, 8 years or whatever, on the topic of would Mahomes have been good if the Bears drafted him. And he's, as far as I know to this day, he's still firmly on the side of he would have been elite if the Bears had drafted him. And I'm still on the side of the situation that Patrick went to turned him into what he is. And going to the Bears would have done what happens to every raw prospect that the Bears get. And that's not to say that Caleb can't succeed, but he so far is not succeeding.
Yeah, I think Mahomes would have found some success, but I do think he would not be who we know him to be now. I think you could see him more along the lines of like,
my mind went to Kyler Murray.
That's not bad. My mind is going to like what we're seeing in New England right now with May, where he's like maneuvering, great throws. They're spectacular. There's also some head scratchers. We might get to see kind of that play out as well in the like, what if Mahomes went here to this? So like we might be getting all these like what if Mahomes scenarios right now. Cam Ward might be another one this next year in the draft. What if, I don't know who's going to draft him, but what if the Giants drafted Mahomes? Like we're kind of potentially getting some of these like scenarios play out, which I think is very interesting.
Well, and I don't think that Kansas City was the only situation that Mahomes could have succeeded, but I do think that I think that Mahomes and Andy Reid clearly work together incredibly well.
Yeah.
And complement each other as well as Brady and Belichick did. You know, it's
Oh yeah.
and like I mean, people have asked the question.
They've got the edge on. They've got the edge on so many, in so many scenarios in every game, that like they put themselves ahead of you enough over the course of a game to get a win. Like it's just I feel like that's where we're sitting right now.
I don't think that the Packers are playing anybody this week that we're supposed to be talking about or anything. Are they?
No, definitely not.
Good. Then
Definitely
do you want to see a clip laughing at the Bears? Because I pulled this up earlier when we were laughing at the Bears and their collapse. Do you want to see a short clip from Pardon My Take?
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Here we go. Share audio.
Bears are a joke. They're so bad. They got Eberflus fired, which I was totally on board with. You'd think there would be pride. You'd think that there'd be an interim head coach bump. Nope. Same garbage team, same garbage start. There was a moment where it was 310 yards to 2, and then at half it was 319 yards to 4 yards. I just need this season to end. I can't do it anymore. It's up my mood too much. Just get the Bears out of my face, and we'll revisit it come draft.
So the halftime, 319 to 4, 319 by the 49ers. That's the most in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
4 by the Bears is the least in the NFL this year.
Man.
As a matter of fact, since 2015.
Bears are a joke.
Since 2015.
Oh no.
I love it. I love it so much.
Oh my gosh.
It's wild how there's always
Oh.
still several games, a full month of games left in the regular season. At the point where
this is
Bears
where we're
fans
at.
check out for the season.
Yep.
Every year, there's still at least a full month of regular season games to play when the Bears have bottomed out so much that their fans who talked so much crap all year long.
Yep.
What was the 4 he was talking about? That did the Bears only have
Yes.
4 yards and a half?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. That is correct, Tool, for this. 4 yards in the first half.
Freaking Joseph here is asking us an actual real football question, so we have to get serious again.
That's lame. No, I'm just kidding.
Joseph
I like
says,
it.
Do
it.
you think the Packers can make a deep run in the playoffs riding Jacobs, or will Love have to be more consistent and the offensive emphasis have to shift to him? So that is 3 different points I think to examine, because let's talk for a second about the offensive emphasis, because I think that there's the most part to the most room to talk about there, because does Love have to be more consistent? 100%.
Yes.
Can the Packers make a deep run in the playoff riding Jacobs, or does the offensive emphasis have to shift to Love? I don't know that it has to shift to Love, but Love does have to be more consistent, is my answer. Jake.
Yeah, I think the balance and the ability under center to do a lot of different things is going to matter. Once the playoffs start, you have to present enough in terms of like we can have success here, here, and here, which I think they're doing, right? I think Love, you can tell the injuries behind him right now, and he looks more comfortable. He's delivering it better. He's handling pressure better. He handled pressure well in that Lions game, and I think most of us thought like he wasn't going to be pressured a lot because Detroit's on defensive linemen 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 in that game. Like you thought that he was going to have more time, and he dealt with it pretty well. Made that absurd throw to Watson, which I've watched maybe 400 times. But yeah, I do think there's going to have to be more consistency right now. Just to put this out there, Jordan Love is 20th in adjusted EPA per play on 3rd and 4th downs. If you throw in the EPA expected points added and the CPOE, which is completion percentage over expectation, into the composite, he's 23rd, which would put him behind Rodgers, Fields, at that spot. Now Herbert's 20th, so again, it's not everything. If you're generating explosive passing plays on first and second down, you're not getting to third downs. That's a different story. But when you're getting into those situations, Love hasn't been particularly great. So I would like to see an improvement there. However, I do think the passing game is still going to generate explosives, but they're going to have to be balanced. I don't think they can ride one thing or another. Going into the postseason, they have to be gelling. Right? You're going to see it from whoever wins this Super Bowl this year. They're going to be gelling in both aspects on offense. Right? The Bills, you've seen it with Joe Brady if you've watched them. They've run the ball extremely well to start the season. Then when they've had to get away from the run, which they had to this past Sunday against the Rams chasing, they said, we can do that too. Detroit can obviously do both. The Chiefs can do both when they want to. The Ravens can do both when they want to. Even Pittsburgh can kind of do it when they want to. So you're seeing how, and I think Philly's the one I'm still a little bit questioning, and I think JJ would probably be in the same boat with me. I don't love the passing offense. I think it's too simple. I think it's just expecting everybody to win. So I think if you take them out of it, but I do think, and I think Minnesota can probably be thrown in there as well with everybody else. Where if you have, if you're succeeding in both, you're going to be there. You're going to be in that Final Four in your conference. You're going to be maybe in the Final Two of your conference, right? So they're not going to be able to lean on one or the other. It has to be a full unit gelling, whatever that's going to take, right? If it's, as JJ kind of mentioned, if it's, Jordan Morgan comes back, he's playing instead of Sean Ryan, excellent. If it's Telford who's getting hot, great. Everybody has to be playing their best. And you're going to have to present a lot on offense pre-snap for a lot to work. And I think Green Bay, they have that. They have the designer. They have all the pieces in place. They just got to be more consistent and execute. And I think the second half against Detroit was really good. Now, we kind of needed to see that against Detroit, right? They're a little bit, shorthanded defensively, but it was a really, really it was really good to see them fight in that game. So, yeah, I do think it's just going to have to be balanced, and it's going to have to be firing on all cylinders when you hit the postseason. That's always how it works.
Yeah, let's talk about Jordan's performance in the Lions game in a second. You mentioned that he performed really well under pressure in the Lions game. It's true. So when he was kept clean in the Lions game, he had a 79.3 PFF passing grade, 133.8 NFL passer rating. When he was under pressure, passer rating went down to a 70.5. That's obviously not entirely, just a quarterback stat, but
No.
his passing grade only went down from an 81 down to a 72.
That'll work.
So, and one thing that I was pleased with, 0 turnover-worthy plays in the game.
Yeah, that's
So
massive.
he did have the one attempt that was batted, but it was not like in danger of being
right.
picked.
Yeah.
So I would say the one thing I felt like some of his pressures were self-inflicted. You noticed that when he was under pressure, it was because his time to throw was over 4 seconds, 4.12 seconds. And when he was kept clean, it's because he was getting the ball out quick, 2.88 seconds. So was the offensive line trash? Absolutely. Josh Myers and Sean Ryan should have walked home to Green Bay. That was unacceptable.
Yeah.
But and I still say that we need much more from our wide receiver group, the whole group. Everybody needs to step up.
Yep. I agree.
But like holding the ball for over 4 seconds and creating pressures for yourself, like, I'm sorry, man, that ain't it. And it was not always a case of nobody's open either. Like, for example, the Zadarius Smith sack on the opening drive was a horrible sack. Horrible. Josh Jacobs is just standing there with nobody near him. Now, are you going to get a lot of yards? No. But it's not going to be a sack that forces you to punt.
Yeah. Which I will
Tool
say.
for this says that's some Caleb Williams stuff. Yeah. Holding the ball for 4 seconds, Justin Fields and Caleb Williams hold the ball for 4 seconds and get sacked. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan only got sacked. Where'd it go? Once. He only got sacked once. There were 9 what they call defense generated pressures. So there were a couple of pressures that he created for himself.
Sure.
9 just true defensive pressures that were just the offensive line getting their butts whipped. But he was only sacked once, so good for him. No interceptions, no dropped interceptions, no fumbles that, anyways.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to praise Jordan for is this is 4 weeks in a row now of over 100 passer ratings. So starting with the Chicago game, 113, 107, 129, 111. So that's nice. Prior to that Chicago game, he'd only had one game with over a 100 NFL passer rating the entire year, and that was in Week 6 against Arizona. Of course, that was a fantastic game. And if you like PFF, you might be pleased to know that this was his highest graded game of the year, the 83.8, which would have been kind of middle of the pack for last year. But if Jordan is heating up, now is the time to be heating up. I would much rather have him be heating up now as opposed to, peaking earlier in the season. So, This says, second half Jordan Love is like John Wick. True.
That'd be great. That would be great. I think there's a couple things, right? The time to throw, which is why I think it's really important to watch the games as well. Because, some of the time to throw stuff is pressure that he's evading, right? When you look at pressure to sack percentage, right? He's third in the league. He's got the third lowest pressure to sack percentage, which is awesome. Love to see guys with low pressure to sack percentages. He's third to Derek Carr is first, which is just kind of strange. But he gets to his check down quick. But then second is Josh Allen.
Was it last
right?
week that we were reading through? Was it last week we were reading through this big long list of pressure to sack ratios? There was we read through 15 of them, and then I did Jordan Love last, and his was I think maybe the only single digit one that I had read.
There's only 3 guys, with enough dropbacks to count that are under 10%, and obviously Love and Allen are 2 of those guys. There's only a couple others under 12. That's Rudolph and then Lamar. So, you're putting yourself in company here with Lamar and Allen in terms of there's pressure, but we're mobile enough, doing a great job evading pressure. So that does sometimes inflate the time to throw. But conversely, like you said, there were times where it felt like in this game that the pressure didn't need to turn us into a sack, and it did. So, and I think that's why it's, again, super important to just kind of, if you got NFL Pro, go look at Jordan Love dropbacks. Pretty quick, kind of exercise. It helps kind of just, again, you don't even have to always know what he's being asked to do or not. Like pressure to sack percentage, you can see that. Like you can see if he's getting the ball quick or what he's doing to evade pressure and all of that. So he's making up for poor old line play at times, but he's also not taking advantage of good line play in this game. There were instances of both.
Sure, especially in the second half, you saw. You saw sometimes where they kind of stiffened up.
Yeah, and so yes, that opening play could have had the check down. I think you see him kind of hitch and kind of double clutch the basic route to Wicks, which I think Wicks was the one who's going over the middle, not outside the numbers on that play. And so, probably could have thrown that. It's easy to say that, of course, in my position, probably could have thrown that. But I do think that it was there for the taking. Maybe just a little hesitant early on. right? I don't know if, mentally like thinking like don't turn the ball over early on in this game might have been going through his head after obviously the pick six from the last meeting. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that, but I do think you saw him, and he continues to do a nice job of usually limiting sacks when pressure is applied.
Just noticed Jordan did not have any interceptions or turnover-worthy plays last week either. So that's 2 games in a row.
That's big.
Now the passing touchdowns, I don't want to say that they're like really low. He has 3 passing touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, 0 interceptions. I'll take it. Honestly, the defense and the wide receivers are probably my biggest concerns at the moment, and the interior of our offensive line. But like they're just inconsistent. Sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
should we have another wide receiver conversation, or have we beaten that one to death?
I think we should have it.
I think the last 2 wide receiver conversations we had featured a lot of me ranting, so maybe you should do more of the talking on it. Like, I think people would benefit from hearing you talk about the wide receivers.
Yeah, I think it's just pretty simple. It just comes down to execution, right? Reed drops that one early in the game and unfortunately doesn't get targeted again. Now that's, there's a lot that goes into that, of course.
I thought Reed
schematically, but
kind of poorly.
But yeah, I just not a good start, and it just doesn't get targets the second half, right? Like I actually thought Wicks played fine in this one. Thank goodness we're securing the football. That was really nice to see, at the very least, from him. Yeah, there's just still questions when you watch Watson play. And you know what? I'm not even worried. The fumble, as a fan, bothered me, of course. It bothers everybody when you fumble like that. I know he's trying to avoid getting drilled in the hip and then the leg there by Joseph, so I understand that. But like you even saw it, like, okay, it works. The result was fine. On the Jordan Love dime, you pinned it to your face mask essentially. I combed through a lot of stuff and I just couldn't find a video or anything that talks about pinning it to your face mask is good technique. So, again, the catch technique
you haven't heard
is
the expression,
such a concern.
The face mask is the third hand.
Yeah, right. But like, I do think, again, it's important to highlight like how game changing he can be for this offense, right? Running winning down the field like he did against Miami, right? Did he do it in this game too? Yeah, he did, right? I
didn't hear the question because I was reading a
he had a vertical win in this game, right, where Love hit him against Detroit, right? Or am I thinking of the Miami game? Hold on. We're hitting
definitely
pause.
Did last week.
Okay, he did. Okay, good. That's what I'm thinking of. I know he hit him on the deep cross. No. Okay, yeah, no. So and someone I follow who's a wide receiver coach, just again a phenomenal rep here, where he won the vertical route. Like they're running a lot of stuff to confuse people on the backs on the I think front side of this play, right, in a bunch. And again, it's a good release from Watson on the vertical. Uses his hands, stacks, gets back on line where he needs to be when he stacks, and it's a big-time play. Right? He stacks before he goes up and looks for the ball. That is important. It's great technique. It's exactly what you need. It's just like if he's not running the goes or the deep crossers, there are some struggles. And again, still the ball security stuff and, consistency tracking it and consistency at the catch point and a lot of these things, it still shows up in year 3. And again, because he's a game changer, it's going to be impossible to move on from him, in my opinion. I think, truthfully, and I think it should be very clear that Dobbs' skill set is more replicable than Watson's. You're just not going to find, 6'4" dudes who run that fast. Unless your name's Brian Thomas. But hey, everybody asked. That was my favorite conversation when I did the breakdown of Watson once he was drafted. It's like, well, these 6'4", 208 guys, they can't gear down. Watch Brian Thomas do exactly that at exactly the same height and weight, okay? Watch him do it. So he's just still a little stiff, and that's going to limit the route tree. But, again, big plays are awesome. It's just the ball security. It's rep-to-rep technique that is tough. Again, when Reed's not cooking, that's usually an issue as well. And I just feel like the drops continue to show up. Thankfully, Wicks is securing the rock. That's huge. But I feel like there are a few plays a game where it's just kind of like, wow, I feel like the receiver room is costing some big plays here and there. And
Well, and I think that Jaden Reed is probably the biggest factor here because, to Joseph's point, Watson and Wicks are heating up. They're trending in the right direction.
They are.
Dobbs, of course, has not been
They
available due to his
Yes.
concussion.
Mhm.
Nobody's upset with him for that.
No.
And he's been playing well when he's been available. But Reed is so crucial to that room. And he's been, for the last, since like week 7, he's been the worst receiver in that room. Which is crazy to say because at the beginning of the year, we were having questions about where to rank him among the top wide receivers in the league this year.
Yeah.
Prior to, I think it was the Texans game was the game that like kind of broke him. And like,
Oh, yeah. There was that big play before half. Love threw that
And, like,
big one down
he's
the field on
been-
that post, and he dropped it. Yeah.
he's been rattled ever since. And I should actually check and make sure without just saying this, but I feel like it was at that point that they started playing him so much more on special teams, make him do the returns. I'm pulling this up right now. Kick returns. Okay, punt returns here. So week 6, Arizona, he had a return. Week 7, he had a return. Week 8, week 9, he had 2 returns. So,
Yeah. I mean, I like having him
where's
back
the
there
stat I'm
because
even looking
he
for?
secures
This is
the
not
ball.
stat I'm looking for.
I still think I will say I still think Reed, in terms of route diversification combined with the explosiveness, still I think you can give him a big percentage of the big boy routes, as we call them, right? Your digs, your outs, your comebacks, all this stuff. I still think he is really, really good in terms of the route tree. So partially there's some lack of involvement stuff that I'm not sure why it's happening, because I mean you watch and you see him winning a lot, and he won a few times in this Detroit game where he kind of didn't get the ball. There was one in the red zone where he kind of just kind of split release, but put a ton of pressure on the outside foot and just put the foot in the ground and just ran across the field. And it's like, yeah, Love could probably give him an opportunity here. It's got to be a really, really well thrown ball because the safety's closing, but I think for some reason, I'm not sure why we're not giving him more opportunities. I know he's dropped passes. I still think that receiver from early season is in there though with him. I think I just have more questions with the other 3. Just because I think Wicks has to be technically sound. Every route's kind of have to be perfect because he doesn't have the explosiveness that some of the other guys do. But it's good that he's trending in the right direction. I would love for Green Bay to find a way to get Reed some. I don't know if he needs some confidence builders, right? Because of the drops, awesome. Let's get him a few, right? You can get him stuff in the quick game and let him work after the catch. You definitely can do that, and you might want to. You might want to against the Seattle defense this week. So,
I'm looking at week 7 for Reed, which was kind of the week that I had just kind of off the cuff kind of circled as the one that I thought kind of broke him. There are a couple things that stand out. One is that his passer rating when targeted for a lot of the year has been really high. Like we're talking high 100s, anywhere from 120 to he did in week 4 have a perfect passer rating when targeted. 149 in week 1. Okay. Week 7, he was a 56.3. So that's the week before he was a 125.7. He also had 2 drops in that game, not coincidentally. I mean, obviously the drops are going to contribute to the lower passer rating when targeted. So he had 2 drops. His longest reception in that game went for 6 yards. His yards per route run the week before, this is hard to keep track of this. The week before, 1.22, which is a little low. He had been so from in week 3 he was 2.78, week 4 3.09, week 5 3 yards per route run, 1.22 in week 6, and then in week 7 0.32 yards per route run. And his next really bad performance, obviously, came this past week. So 39.6 passer rating when targeted. He was only targeted 1 time. He had a drop grade this past week of 28. That's actually his second drop grade of 36 or lower in the last 2 weeks. It was a weird, especially when they are really struggling at cornerback in Detroit. That was a massive talking point for us on this show last week was pick on their corners. Don't freaking run it at their defensive tackles. Pick on their cornerbacks. So it's just weird that he turned in such a trash performance. Don't take this as me hating on Jaden Reed. This is me holding Jaden Reed to the standard that he has set. We know how good he is and how good he can be.
Yeah.
So don't take this as me crapping on Jaden Reed. It's me saying, dude, get it back together because we know what you are. Yeah. Let's see the real you again.
Yeah. Yep. It's funny because this game against Seattle, I'm glad you clicked on that, JJ. I think if you looked at the first month of the season, right, and I've been diving head first into this 2023 receiver class in year 2, you'd probably put Reed in your top 3 after a month, at the very least, maybe even second in the class through that first month. Guys are starting to creep up. Most notably, this fella in this matchup this week, who love to see him cooking. Okay? We love to see that. All right?
Jake, do you remember? We were already doing Derailed by that point, were we?
Yep.
Weren't we? Do you remember when in the JSN draft?
Yeah.
How consumed I was with the idea of JSN. And I said 100,000 times, I know we're not going to go get him, but I want him so bad.
I'm almost positive I wrote something on the fit itself way back when in that draft. Yeah, I wrote why JSN is the guy for the Packers in the first round. Because, again, it was all about finding the slot receiver who could do everything for your offense. Okay? It truly isn't surprising that he's overtaking DK. It isn't. He is this good. Okay? So, with him now starting to dominate against man coverage, we know what he is as a yak player. We know how tremendous he is at catching, some of these off-target passes over the middle of the field. Metcalf was never good at that. Lockett, if he did that, he was falling on the ground. Right. Okay, and good for him.
What you're describing
and good for him.
Is exactly who he was in college. That's exactly who he was at Ohio State. That's where he excelled at all those things. And that's why it was kind of weird to me and a lot of folks watching his rookie season with the Seahawks and going,
yes,
who the heck is that? Who is that?
You
That
know
is
who
not
it is?
JSN.
You know who it is? It's Shane Waldron. That's who it is. He stinks. Okay. It's
Did you see
Shane
the
Waldron's
clip
fault.
of Ryan Poles talking about how they landed on Shane Waldron? Did you see that
No.
clip? I shared it on X today. He was Ryan Poles was like, this is before, of course, they fired Shane Waldron. So I think that this video was from September. And he's talking about what a brilliant strategy they had for interviewing him.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, my camera went out. This is a different camera too. What the heck? This is a different camera.
That was strange. I was like, did he mean to do that?
Poles is talking about how they came up with this revolutionary new way to interview coaches.
To be bad.
Revolutionary new way to be bad. That's
Yeah.
the most Bears thing I've ever heard. Okay,
Yeah.
here's their revolutionary new way to interview coaches. You ready
Stink.
for this? They tell the coach, hey, here is the down and distance and the time left on the clock. Now, you have 2 minutes to think of 10 questions to ask me
Yeah.
to help you come up with the perfect play call. And so Poles is sitting there. He's like, and so, Shane's asking me questions like, well, who's healthy? What players are available? And he was like, he was so excited about how this was how they land on Shane Waldron. And I'm like, dude, like, you basically could have just drawn
The
his name
former
out of a hat
players
when
were
he was
like,
7 years old.
are we live, bro? You thought, you know what? I still think we made the right call. But no, like that's again, JSN is becoming who we knew JSN was pre-draft. That's clear. Jordan Addison, if y'all missed it this week, 8 for 133 and 3 for Minnesota. Okay. He's finding it as the wide receiver 2 out there. No, I know we don't like it. He's
It makes
finding
me
it.
miserable. I
Okay?
hated Jordan Addison as a prospect so much. I was so anti-Jordan Addison as a prospect. And I think you disagreed with me. I think I remember
Yes.
getting into some arguments with you about that one.
Yes.
Which is fine. Honestly, it was about time that you got a win,
Sure.
So I'm glad that you have at least one win in your column now.
You're right. Let me put these things up here really quick. Just one win though. Let me put our names back up here just so everybody can see. But
Mine should say Brian Thomas no matter what.
Yours should say that. No, you gotta stick with your boy. They'll figure it out.
Wait, who out of all the many players I've had?
That's
which is
Marv.
Which is my boy?
Marv. Gotta be.
Marv.
You gotta ride for your guy.
I like Marv, and he was You
gotta ride for him. You can ride for Brian Thomas as well. I'm just saying, don't. This could be another JSN situation next year, where it's like, oh wow, yeah, Marv figured it out. That's crazy. It's like, not really.
No,
Not
here's
really.
mine. You ready?
Right? Okay.
There
you
You
go.
like mine? Oh, I reversed the capitalization. Now mine says.
I
Carl
think
Brooks
that's
no matter
better.
what.
I think that's better actually. But yeah, like Zay Flowers doing well this year. Josh Downs doing well this year. I know he's been hurt, but you're seeing these guys step up, and it's like, okay, Jaden, they're catching you. A little bit. So I think I do think it's a perfect setup, honestly, where Jaden Reed hot start gets cold middle of the season, perfect time to just arrive again. What better way to do it on Sunday night against Seattle? So, and first off, Tyler and Tool for this. These are the hype trains you should be on for sure. Also, don't leave those either.
Here, let's do this.
Can we
2-0
do
for this.
the-
Did you see the coverage on Jefferson's touchdown? What the heck was that? I got the.
Oh,
clip.
yeah.
Let's watch it for fun.
No, let's not. A guy
No, we have
accidentally.
to.
There was an accidental Madden click on, and he dove. That's what happened.
It was.
There's nothing. There's no other.
It was. What's his name? With the Cardinals, the Bengals guy, AJ Green. It was AJ Green with the
Oh.
Cardinals all over again.
Yeah. This is like
Yeah, I'm giving
it
the
is.
people what
It's
they
like,
want. We're
Fella,
watching this.
just this is an accidental click on. Okay.
Just can't stay. Just allow him to scramble. So he's open early. But
Why does he
Lost
go
ball,
right?
can't find it, click on.
Out on time, and
So
then just can't stay.
Like,
here's the question I have. Okay, so at this point right here, when he starts running out to the right,
I think I think what he was expecting here. Can you wind it back just a little? Is there a sail route here to flood the side of the field?
no, there's nobody over there.
There's not. There is a guy running
There's nobody there.
running a kind of a hook route, but or no,
So
7
83
stop.
is covered. Okay, there's
Yeah, I don't know
nobody
why he
else
thought
even on the screen.
7 stop plus corner route.
I don't know.
Did
what
he have
these
safety
guys
up to the middle?
Yes, look right here.
Okay.
Right?
Oh,
Right
is
there.
this the safety help? Oh, this is super bad. Brother. Where's the safety going? Oh, Hawkinson.
Which
yeah,
is fine.
This is
that's
like
probably
I don't
where it
know.
was going.
This is like I don't know where the ball is, and then it's like I accidentally clicked on and dove. Tough scene.
I don't I don't have
Literally-
a problem with him falling over. Like that's just comedy. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
But it's the
just-
turning right when there's
Yeah,
nobody
no.
over there. What are you thinking? Maybe you're gonna get an interception over here
That's probably
on
what.
the sideline. Is that like
Did he
I
not?
can't- He's
because
trying to
he should-
intercept the throwaway.
He should have eyes on the safety coming down here. That's the problem.
He does. Look, you can see. Look at his helmet right
He's
here.
100%
He can see
looking.
the safety.
He could see the safety coming down. This is so true. Where are you going?
Is he gonna play this week? Do you think?
This guy? I don't
Yeah.
know. It is
I
truly
forget the guy's
crazy.
name, D something.
D. Alford.
D Alford. Yeah.
So it's truly crazy. Like I know it's when so this isn't for Alford really, but like when the corners play bad, we notice. When they play good, we don't. Like AJ Terrell's playing well these last 4 weeks, and he actually played well against both Addison and Jefferson. The problem for Atlanta was how Jefferson and Addison did against everybody else. And O'Connell knew it, and O'Connell got Jefferson and Addison on the same side of the field, and they just toyed with them in the second half. So not good.
This is actually not as bad as I was expecting. Like
No, it's not horrible.
What was his passer rating when targeted? 158.3.
Well, are you shocked? It says there's 4 touchdowns given up on there.
He played 40
Go over
snaps
here.
in that game.
Go back over. 7 for 121 and 7 for
He
127.
gave up 4
and
touchdowns in one game?
Yeah, I thought you noticed that. Oh yeah. 7
No,
for
I
120
didn't. I was looking at the
He was
158.3.
targeted 7 times, gave up 7 for 127 and 4.
Too old for this is Josh Myers had a worse PFF grade than that guy. Yeah, he did. And there was
How many
okay,
snaps?
so let me just
40
check
snaps?
and see if they changed.
Wait,
it
how many
back, 'cause
how many coverage snaps did he get?
Imagine if it's only 4. That'd be
I think
amazing.
I almost thought it was 8. No, 32. Okay, 8 was run defense.
Okay, but still, that's
That's not
1/8
good.
of his 1/8 of his plays. Are
It's so
touchdowns.
funny that the coverage grade, like again, coverage grade should weigh more. He had an 81 tackling grade, still under a 30.
Yeah, his okay. Where's his
Tough scene.
targets? How many times was he targeted? He was targeted 7 times, gave up all 7
Yeah,
for 127 yards, 4
I think
touchdowns.
that 52 long was the one we watched just now. Pretty sure. Pretty sure that was
Dude.
that one.
Look at this guy's
well.
face. He might be cooked after that game. I don't know how do you come back from that as a cornerback? Like so much
truly,
of
you have
being
to
a
have-
quarterback is about your swag and your confidence.
For sure. I will say.
How do you come back from that?
I will say he bounced back from giving up 9 for 69 and 2. Yeah. Against Kansas City with a 138 passer rating pretty well. Once he kind of got things going, middle of the season wasn't bad. He did well against Seattle. That's interesting. 57 passer rating given up against Seattle.
Yeah, he went 9 for 9 against
So-
Kansas City, and then 6 for 9 the following week against New Orleans.
So, I mean, gotta have a memory of a goldfish as a corner. He's playing against Ladd this week, though.
Jewel for
Not-
this says,
not
"Can
a
he really
good
be
place to
considered
be.
in coverage on that play?"
Yeah, and yet, he wasn't anywhere near it, and yet he's still the nearest defender, and I'm sure Next Gen Stats has him as nearest defender on that.
All right, Jake.
Can we ask this one?
Wait, hold
really
on,
quick?
Jake. Who would you rather have to finish out the season? Okay, to finish out the 2024 season,
Don't do this.
D. Alford or
Eric
Stokes?
Stokes. Okay.
Gun
I
to your
don't
head.
know,
You got to pick
man.
one of them. Robert Rochelle is not available. It's got to be D. Alford or Eric.
I'm going
Eric
to take the
Stokes.
size of Eric Stokes, I think.
Okay. The devil
Just
you
'cause-
know.
I think just because he's what 6'1", 190. Yeah, 5'11", 175. Not loving that. I think I'd rather go
All right.
with Stokes.
Sorry for.
I want to.
Go ahead.
I want to get to this one too. Joseph asks how legit is Evan Williams? Seems like he's made some big plays, but I have very
Williams
little
have a
idea how he is
concussion again right now,
down
FYI?
to down. Yeah, he does, I believe.
Dang it.
Yeah, Green Bay drops both rookie safeties in this one.
Katana Oladapo time.
It probably is, honestly. There's no way Bullard's playing this week. That's why JJ I'm concerned.
Dude, I'm looking
I have
at.
concern about playing against JSN without like anyone. It doesn't. I don't like it. I don't like it. I have concerns.
We have 6 guys who are hurt right now, okay? One of them is Romeo Dobbs.
Mm-hmm.
The other 5
They
are
have
all
Zane.
defensive backs.
That's right. They have Zane Anderson.
Actually, Zane Anderson is not on here. It's Corey Ballantyne. So 6 if you include Zane. So Edgerrin Cooper. Oh, Edgerrin Cooper's a linebacker. Dude.
Oh, I mean, sorry. I didn't mean hurt. I meant Zane came in and played.
Zane
You said
came in and
Oladapo
played.
time, and I was like, oh, someone did mention, Zane came in.
Still, Jair, both of our
Wolfers and
safeties,
Drew.
and Ballantyne all hurt. Drew said, I couldn't believe they brought out Zane Anderson. Shout out Zane Anderson. He is in the top 10 for special teams for the most useless thing in the world, which is the Pro Bowl vote.
Please,
I'm so
Packers
anti-Pro
fans,
Bowl.
please vote Zane Anderson, because if we vote Zane Anderson in, I promise they're going to stop They're going to stop making voting a thing. I'm almost positive. I'm almost positive if you vote the bottom tier guys on your roster to the Pro Bowl, they will stop allowing voting. I'm almost positive of this. So
Did you see
if you
Josh
want it to be a
Myers
real
is in
thing,
the top 10 of Pro Bowl voting at center?
yeah, I mean, this is the thing, the Pro Bowl voting, right? It's like your team, and then kind of like outside of your team, like name 10 centers.
Yeah.
I don't think I could name all the centers, to be honest.
I guarantee here's what happened, okay?
So
There's
like
people
people are
going,
going to vote for their
"Let me
team,
think
right?
here.
That's just
Who's-
how it is.
Who's the center for the Packers? Oh, it's that Ohio State guy, right? Yeah. Ohio State guy. He's been there
They
forever.
took him-
He's super good.
This is the thing, right? They took him over Creed Humphrey. He must be okay. Right? That still happens, right? So like
They just look it up. They're
That's
like,
what the
Josh
Pro Bowl
Myers,
voting
the name
is.
doesn't sound familiar. Oh, Ohio State. Yeah, that's the guy who's been there for the last decade. Yeah. Okay, cool.
that could also be a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing, right? So like again, not talking down to people that don't know 10 other centers, but like you're asking for Pro Bowl votes, they're going to vote for their team and guys they know,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how it's going to be. So like
See Alford to the Pro Bowl.
see now go vote for him as well. Vote for him, vote for
Remember
Zane. Okay?
Remember when Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl and Jordan
Yes.
Love did not?
Yes. So like you can't
Remember
be
when
worried
Mitch
about
Trubisky
it.
went to the Pro Bowl?
Right,
I hate
like-
the Pro Bowl so much. This is the worst thing.
Yeah. You know why he went to the
Also,
Pro Bowl that
side
year,
note-
right? You know why he went to he had like that 5 touchdown game against Tampa? And that's what people remembered, and they're like, okay, I'll vote for him. Right? Like
Side
that's why.
note.
That's why.
What do you think about the awards voting for college this year? Like all the finalist lists for every award this year. Is it? Am I crazy, or are they all horrifically off base?
I
like,
just
pretty
think
much
like
unilaterally?
yeah, I mean yeah, it's not the best. I don't know. We better not get into that because
That's fine.
I'm going to say things
I wanna
about a certain
highlight-
running back that I'm already tired of saying.
Don't get us canceled, okay? I'm already almost getting us canceled every week for slandering the god that is Kenny Clark, who shall not be criticized. By the way, does it make me a bad person and a bad Packer fan that I was relieved that Kenny Clark didn't make the top 10 of the Pro Bowl voting based on just his name alone? Like, I was a little relieved that the Pro Bowl voters at least said, you know what, he's not as good as he has been in some past years.
Yeah, I think that's fair to be excited about.
I like Chris's comment here mostly because of the emoji that he used.
Chris's comment. Oh,
Well,
I just wanted to put.
we
this
can't
on
look
there,
at Chris's
but
comment anymore.
That's fine.
Oh, here's another Chris comment. Kenny Clark extension was a huge mistake.
Oh wait, yeah, that's not this one. I forgot it. Which one was on the screen?
This is the one. I would not vote for Josh Myers with the.
Yeah.
I just the
I
emoji
mean, the
and
centers.
part of it is the platform that we're using here and like the way it renders out that emoji. It just
I like
I
it.
love the idea of a Packers fan with that face and their arms crossed watching Josh Myers play. I would
Yeah.
not vote for
This-
you.
This is what I'm talking about. This is perfect. Two of us might be this might be a sarcastic one, but that's really good. Like Creed, Kelsey,
How
I
many
don't
votes
know
do you think
anymore.
Jason Kelsey got this year?
That would
for
be
Pro Bowl?
interesting. That would be interesting. I don't know. But like Juergens has been fine for them, which again, probably don't know that guy. Like common knowledge would not dictate like I know who Cam Juergens is, right? Like that people will be like Jason Kelsey's still playing. How could he not be? Their run game's phenomenal with Barkley. So like
So is what's his name for the Saints? Eric McCoy. Is he still killing it?
I don't think
Last
so.
I checked, I thought he was playing crazy good.
Maybe. Linderbaum,
Frank Ragnow.
Ragnow. Yep.
That's probably your top three right there. Is Creed, Eric McCoy, Frank Ragnow in some
Yeah.
order. I don't really care which order you put them in. Who else is good at center right now? Tyler Linderbaum for Baltimore. He's great.
That's yeah. Frazier's been actually doing pretty well as a rookie.
Frazier for
yeah.
freaking Pittsburgh
He's been doing well as a
Steelers.
rookie.
You know
I think
what? The
I think
Steelers-
JPJ has been pretty good since he's moved to center. They started him at guard in Vegas, and then they moved him to center, and they're like, "Wow, he's better." It's like, really? That's crazy. That's
If he could ever get any playing time, I think Tanner Bortolini would be fantastic at center.
he has gotten some actually, and it's
he
gone
been good?
okay. It's been okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually been all right.
Too old for this, reminding
So-
us that the Packers think Zach Tom is a Hall of Fame center, but they're still not going to play him there. You know what?
That's
we really
good.
just like Josh Myers and Sean Ryan. We're just going to keep doing that, right?
They might keep
okay?
doing it. They might keep doing it.
Tyler Biadasz, is he still? He's in Washington, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
he's having a decent year.
I think so.
All right, go ahead. I know you
really
want to talk
quick,
Evan
just
Williams.
really quick to this.
Go ahead.
I think it's
Oh, it's not going to be quick. I know.
when
you.
you're not. No, it is when you're not making the splash plays. Sometimes it's kind of like, oh, is he doing anything? And I feel like as a safety, if your name's getting called out, you're either doing something really good or really bad, right? Like you're not getting called out. You're not getting like pointed out very much, especially on TV during the broadcast for like, hey, Evan Williams, you see him, he was in the right spot these last 3 plays and forced a punt, basically, and helped force a punt for this. You're not going to hear that. So I think Williams has been solid. I don't think he's been to the level that he was in that LA game where he just flat out dominated, knew it was coming, clearly did all the film study and was in the right position every play, but I think he's done fine. I think completely clearing still expectations for a 4th-round rookie. So, okay, that's all I got for that.
I think we've gotten better play out of Evan Williams than we had out of Savage every year, except which year was Savage really good? Was it 21 or 22? I think at 21 was the year that he was really good.
I think that's correct. I'm pretty sure.
But
That's right.
other than 21, would you agree that Evan Williams has been better so
Yeah.
far this year than every other individual year from Savage?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think there's just a level of like I don't know. I mean, Savage did a really nice job reading and closing on certain things, but I feel like Evan Williams just a really good job recognizing so much of what offenses are trying to do, and obviously that's part of that's halfly in the preparation and listening, but like applying it has been huge for them. So.
We're at an hour and
We
12
are.
minutes, and we hit the only Seahawk whose name we have said is JSN. We didn't even say his full name. We just said his initials. That's the only.
That's who we
Seahawk
should be
we've
talking
even
about.
mentioned.
and Spoon. Those are the two guys we should talk about. That's it. I'm comfortable talking about only those two. Really quick shout outs
Who would
on
you rather
the,
have on this year's Packer team?
this year's? Oh, that's
Spoon or no? You don't even know who I'm gonna say.
I don't care. It's Spoon. It's definitely Spoon. I don't care.
Spoon or the dirty bum.
Why you say it like that? How about just like say something?
Well, I was gonna. I was starting
Say
to
a
say
name.
dirty a hole,
Easy.
and then I didn't want to.
Easy.
I didn't want to say
Easy.
that,
Easy.
so I just called him a
Easy. Easy.
Fine. I
who?
won't ask you the question then.
Okay, don't, because like you could just say his name. I promise. I promise. You could just say it. It's okay.
Chris votes for Spoon.
Yeah, it's Spoon. I think there's only like 2 players I would take over Spoon if you asked me a head-to-head about DBs. Like 2, I think.
Who are they?
Sertan.
You would take Sertan over Spoon? Seriously?
Yeah. Yes.
What?
Yes. Easily. And then
Wow. All right.
probably going through and making sure 2 is the right number. Oh man, maybe it isn't just 2. Quignon's been good, man. Quignon's been nice.
Part of the problem is I don't think we've had any.
This is wrong. No.
We haven't
Definitely
had
not
any
Porter.
like really crazy good corners this year. Just like the overall coverage play this season.
Yeah.
Just I just like taking the best of the best this year and stacking him up against the best of the best
Like-
each season from the last 8 years. Meh.
Yeah, it's fine. Quignon and Gonzalez have done well. Actually, Riley Moss has been pretty good for Denver as well. Sertan. Yeah, Gonzalez
Marlon
is the
Humphreys
other
had
one I was
kind of
thinking
a
of.
resurgent year.
Yeah, Humphreys done fine. Oh, Benford. For sure. From Buffalo. Definitely Benford. Porter's had a lot of issues with holding penalties, a little bit of panicky stuff. So haven't loved what I've seen there. DeJean, yeah, but he plays slot. So would you rather have him than most slot defenders? Sure. But before we get to Seattle, there was one other thing. Or maybe
Are
two.
we getting to Seattle?
We are. Where was it? Just because Drew asked this already, way back, I want to make sure we hit it before we move on. He asked, did either of you watch Florida center Jake Slaughter yet this year?
I have not watched any Florida games. My time is too precious for that. I'll watch some Florida
I've
after the
seen
season's over, and I'm looking at specific players like Jake Slaughter.
Yeah. No, I think he's good. I'm very surprised Slaughter was on. Again, this is where JJ brought this up already. I'm very surprised Slaughter wasn't on any of the SEC all conference teams. Absolutely ludicrous. He's, I think, been the best pass protector. And boy, you talk about like pulling and hitting spots in space. Slaughter's been very good at that. So still haven't done the full deep dive, but I've done a few like quick looks at him and like, yeah, there's something there. I keep playing ping pong with myself about like, oh, they're going to keep Josh Myers, or no, they're not. And like, I don't know where they're going to land even after the performance like this week. So I don't know. Fred McFarley asked this one, JJ. We're doing our question blitz before we get to Seattle. Fred McFarley asked a competent 3-tech on our roster. He said he carried this over from Clayton's PTA pod. So, what are you asking a competent three tech to do? That's I think what you should ask yourself, right? Like, if you're
I
asking
will
to
say
do,
this. Is there
ahead.
a competent 3-tech who can both defend the run and rush the passer effectively in the same game? No.
no,
Can you get a guy who can do one of those really well in a game? Yes.
definitely. We're just talking Green Bay, right? Right. That's because there are some guys out there who are doing that, who are doing both in the same game. Funny enough.
I mean, like, obviously, the guy who should be our 3 tech is Kenny Clark, and I'm not the guy to ask how competent Kenny Clark is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. It's just like if you had a 3 tech who could do everything, you would assume it to be Kenny Clark, right? But
Now,
it's just been
like,
inconsistent.
I think Colby Wooden is supposed to be that guy.
I think there are signs. But when I say signs, I mean like a few plays here and there. So it's still possible for that to happen.
Well, for this, what is a 3 tech? So the 3 tech is the guy who lines up between the guard and the tackle, right?
Yeah, essentially tool for this. You could do this, if you draw like the 5 circles of offensive linemen. 0 tech would be directly over the center, right? And then you kind of build out by outside and inside shoulders of the offensive lineman as you keep moving outside from there. So like a 1 tech would be
the outside shoulder of the guard.
Correct. Yeah, so you'd have 1 tech outside shoulder of the center. 2 shade would be more on the inside shoulder of the guard, and then you 2 eyes, you're kind of like on top of, like right in front of the guard. 3 tech would be just outside of him. So yeah, it's weird. 7 to 9 is a very, very arbitrary thing also that they kind of throw out there, which I don't,
because that has to do with the
much.
tight end, right? Basically.
Yeah, it does, and like I don't know,
I'm just gonna start putting 8 tech in my Twitter bio.
Heck yeah, best 8 technique who ever lived would be really good. Someone should do that.
Is it?
So.
Am I correct in saying that you would want to put your, if you have, what's the term we're looking for? A competent 3 tech. Okay, you would want to put your competent 3 tech on the weak side, right?
Yes. For the most part, because you want. Yeah, the 1 tech in theory should be on the strong side of the play. If you're running, what you'd like to run in this scenario, your 1 tech is obviously this, as everyone would know, this the space eater, take on the double. The 3 tech, you'd love to be in pursuit and rushing the passer as much as possible.
So like, unless we're talking Van Ness, I think you're talking about Slayton at 1 and Kenny at 3. But also Slayton can only play like 35% of snaps, if that. So
it'd be great to find a Dexter Lawrence, wouldn't it?
Well, wait a minute.
Wouldn't it though?
We're not talking about. We haven't even thought about Devontae Wyatt. Let's talk about Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Why can't Wyatt be our 3 tech?
It's a pass rush 3 tech. He's, he can do it.
Yeah. No, I just literally forgot he exists.
Oh.
Wyatt is my answer.
Oh.
Wyatt just needs to finish getting healthy, in my opinion.
Right.
I think that he's not looked himself since the injury.
No.
I think he's.
No.
Would you say he's trending in the right direction?
Yeah, I think so. I think you know what you're going to get, right? Like that's, as a pass rusher, he is as disruptive as can be. And so I think just like more disciplined play, I think in terms of like gap integrity, I think can get you what you're looking for sure. But
I just pulled up Wyatt's PFF numbers. Okay. So he got hurt in week 4 against Minnesota, right? So he missed weeks 5, 6, and 7.
Yes.
So he came back and he struggled for 4 games in a row. And there's a bye week sandwiched in the middle of that 4-game stretch. The last 2 games, he's been strongly trending in the right direction from a grades standpoint. As far as pressures, as a pass rusher, 2 weeks ago against Miami, he had 3 pressures. all three of which were hurries. This past week, he only had one pressure, but he did have 4 tackles and 2 run stops, which is a negative play for the offense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel comfortable saying that he's... Oh, and look at this. 2 weeks ago against Miami,
Yeah.
NFL passer rating when targeted of 39.6. My guy.
Love that.
Yeah,
Love
dropping
that.
our 3 tech into coverage.
that.
Love it.
Fred McFarley says Brooks is in that conversation as well. Yeah. I mean, he's gotten some reps where he's rushing on the outside now. It's just nice to see.
The further outside Brooks is, the more I like him. I just... And, like, to look at him, I think that you would prefer him more in a phone booth because he's not as athletic. But
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. The guy wins. Put him on the outside, he wins.
Yeah.
I mean, you disagree if you don't think I'm right, but
No, I don't mind that at all. I think he can move around if you would like to ask him to be that guy moving forward. Yeah.
Did you see,
obviously
by the way,
don't need
that
one tech every play? You can do 2-3 techs. You need better line. You prefer to have good linebacker safety fills if you're going to do more of that. Which, again, you're doing that more on later downs anyway. So, yeah.
did you see that since we traded Preston Smith away, Van Ness's share of snap count has gone down?
Say again?
Since we traded Preston Smith away, Lucas Van Ness. I was drawing a complete blank on his name even though I just said it. Lucas Van Ness snap counts have gone down.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. Suddenly, like, Enikbari's doing more against the run than I thought he could do, which is like, I don't. Okay, sick. I'll take the L on that one. Like, if he continues to do that, yeah, it's a little surprising. It seems like, though, when he's out there, it seems to be clicking a little bit more, which is good. But I do think, I think it'd be nice to see more LVN. I mean, this is essentially a 3-man rotation. I know they're getting Mosby in there. I know Brenton Cox has gotten in there. But, like, it would be good to see, more LVN. Like, that's, I mean. But again, if they don't like what they're seeing and they like what they're seeing from Enikbari more, like, it's hard to argue that. And if they're going to give Brooks more looks out there too, JJ, right? Like, I mean, that's also going to depreciate the snap share percentage. So, yeah, I mean, I went back and looked at all of the center stuff. Who was the Seahawks center? Has Barton been good? All that stuff. That's fun talk. But I want to get to this because someone said this. Where are we? I missed it.
Toolfit says Cox and Mosby. Oh, JJ. I thought it was a note to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what happened there.
Enikbare. So JJ Enikbare, Brenton Cox, and Aaron Mosby all seem way faster than LVN. I think LVN is just being a little bit too indecisive. I think his actual get off speed is fine. It's the cautiousness. He's still coming along.
Yeah, and I think that the other part of playing defensive end in 4-3 requires you to be more cognizant of the run. I think and there's been a lot of good conversations about why under center and why play action is the bane of existence for so many linebackers, defensive ends especially, where it's like you want to start rushing up the field. You want to get upfield, right? And that's great, but you also have to set the edge. You also have to be turning runs back inside. So, like, it's a tough assignment to, like, know when to this is attack mode versus, like, okay, I need to hold up here and make sure I'm doing my job against the run. So that's why play action is such a great tool to have, and why again, more teams are getting under center. They're even dropping back from under center, right? They're doing all that stuff under center because it stresses so many things. And so for two players like Gary and even three players, Enegbare, LVN, like who are very, are very used to being well outside in the 3-4 to kind of rush upfield immediately. It's an adjustment. It is an adjustment to play defensive end. I still think, obviously LVN and Gary have the size and should be built for the 4-3. But when you're coached to, rush with speed, rush with power, like from an further outside track, going to like, okay, you have to be responsible for this. When they're under center, play action, all this, you could be there. You kind of have to hesitate on your rush. It's it's a little more complicated. It's tough to be, perfectly like, okay, I can get after it here. I know when I need to get like, you kind of have to be more cautious because of, again, and especially against the Lions, right? The Lions are one of those teams. The Vikings are one of those teams where it's, when they're under center, who knows what you're getting. So it's tough. It is tough in that regard.
So I'm looking at one comment here before we try and wrap this up with Seattle.
Yeah.
Fred McFarley says LVN plays hard. Not his fault. He was overdrafted and is now undercoached. I would push back. I don't think he was overdrafted. I actually thought that he fell in the draft further than I thought he would, and I believe further than the Packers thought he would. I do think he's being underutilized. I think he needs to be out there more than he is. So that's my final 2 cents on the defensive line conversation before we hit Seattle.
I think, yeah, and Tyler Dershel said, is an LVN's pass rush win rate exploding? I believe so. Last I checked on it. Yeah, I think for me, at least on LVN, yeah, I thought Green Bay overdrafted him. No, I didn't think I thought he was going to be drafted around that area based on what we had heard and seen and done, enough listening on pre-draft. So that I felt like that was about where he was going to go. He was definitely on the short list where like Green Bay's like, yep, that's their type right there. Like it makes perfect sense. It could have made perfect sense for a few other teams that were picking 3 to 5 spots in front of them or even a couple behind them. So yeah, I figured he would be drafted around there. Just didn't happen to be a preference for me. Not necessarily versus other edge defenders, because as I said, I just wasn't into Murphy that much. I know you weren't, JJ. Murphy. So like, and I didn't think Green Bay was going to go McDonald's direction because we like weighed 240 and they don't do that.
Way too small.
And they wouldn't have done the Nolan Smith thing either. That was very clear. Like he's also, again, he was smaller and didn't even have the length that McDonald had. So like that was pretty much off the table as well. So Keon White was probably the other one, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, that could match up. So yeah, it was. I don't think it was too surprising.
I still
that they
was
him,
shocked
right?
that we didn't take Keon White
as well.
He was, and I think I said this last week, so I just don't really need to repeat again. But I'm still to this day sure that there is a universe where we drafted him in the first round.
Yeah, he's been better this year. It's looking kind of nice for him in New England right now. So
we're playing another team this week who drafted a bajillion offensive linemen that we liked. Christian Haynes playing right guard. I really liked Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross, and I liked
Oluwatimi
from Michigan. I would say Oluwatimi has maybe not lived up to what I thought he would be. Just looking at his snap counts, and I haven't paid super close attention this year, but I'm just seeing that Oluwatimi played 254 snaps this year, split in time with Connor Williams, who had 618. I think Connor Williams is hurt now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. And
something happened to him. He's no longer.
And I think he retired.
He's no longer starting
again.
Did he? Okay.
I think there was something on that. Hold on. There was something on that. I'll find it.
So they're also I lost it. Their right guard situation. So Christian Haynes has been their right guard. I think we're expecting that he might not play this game. Or at least that's up in the air. Is Christian Haynes on IR?
Don't know.
So he has missed some time. He was a healthy scratch in week 9. And then looks like he missed week 10 as well.
Yeah.
So last week, the Seahawks did not play Christian Haynes at right guard. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Satoa Lamia. I don't know this guy's name.
Sataoa Laumea, I think. But yeah.
So he started last week, and I think he started
He's a
this
6th
week
round
as well.
pick, so
He didn't play well last week at all.
Yeah.
So I would certainly say try and load up there and get some pressure there.
yeah.
Because the rest of their offensive line is pretty good. Like I said, Oluwatimi has not been fantastic. I would also say this is not one of Laken Tomlinson's better years.
No.
So I do think that the interior should be a strength for us.
Oh yeah.
Drew asks, weren't we a big fan of Stone Forsythe? I don't know that I was. I don't think he was high on my radar. Did you like Stone?
As a day 3 dart throw, yeah, at tackle. But that's about it.
Forsythe and Walker have been injured. Yeah, so
So to put it to wrap this in a bow, it has been constant shuffling, injuries. Connor Williams did in fact retire after coming into play center for them. So they are. It's been trying to adapt on the fly for them. As you said, Christian Haynes. It's been pretty rough this year, which is tough to see. I know Lucas has I think been hurt, right, and Charles Cross has been the one guy who's been playing well on their offensive line. He is the one guy who's playing well. So, in theory, it should be, again, who's ever rushing against the right tackle and everybody on the interior, there should be a massive advantage in this game, and they're going to have to take advantage of it because it seems like they got a little something going in the run game last week. I know it was against Arizona, but they legitimately have not run on anyone this year very well. Even with Walker in.
Well, except for last week.
Right, exactly.
Zach
Last
Charbonnet
week
and
was
Kenny McIntosh just ate.
Yeah, they've clearly found something in terms of whether or not the gap run scheme is going to be kind of their priority going forward. It might be, but there were creases that semi trucks could drive through last week, and Charbonnet feasted on that, and as you said, McIntosh did too. So if they're finding something in the run game, that's a little concerning because now, again, that pushes that pressure of play action on you. You have DK, you have JSN. It's an offense that, for as much as the interior offensive line are basically everywhere but Cross has hurt them, Ryan Grubb has done well enough to figure out any way to possibly hide that, give Geno just enough time to make plays. And the way he has just crafted a second season masterclass for JSN cannot be understated. And he's winning on his own too. He's not just getting schemed everything. He's winning on his own. He looks faster this year than last year, and that could be the lack of Shane Waldron effect as well. So, there's a reason these guys are heating up right now. They're finding things that are working on offense, and I know we're going to get to defense as well. But we talked about, competent 3 techs. Leonard Williams is figuring it out in Seattle. They've done a really nice job. McDonald has unleashing him. Devin Witherspoon found his groove that he found as a rookie, and now his second different defensive
Jaron
scheme.
Reed's still there.
Sure. Yes. Ernest Jones, they traded for after the Rams traded him to Tennessee. Then he goes to Seattle. And like he is doing well in coverage. He made a heck of a play on Murray's first interception last week. So, I think Julian Love's been solid for them at safety. Like they've found pieces. They're not. This isn't a walk in the park, and I know you wouldn't think so, right? Because they're 8-5 and they've clearly found something. But for a team that's kind of like had to struggle and adapt, like you'd think that this could be something where it's like, okay, they've struggled in these areas. Green Bay should take advantage, but they've been adapting so well. I just don't think we're going to get any type of steamroll in Green Bay's favor in this one.
Steamroll, no. I do feel like this is maybe the type of team that the Packers can show up for. You're getting not only is it a primetime matchup, but it is a team that does have some pretty clearly defined weaknesses.
Yeah.
And they are good and they are ascending, but I don't like sometimes you can kind of see the loss coming because the team that you're walking into has this like underlying lethality. And I just wouldn't put Seattle there. Seattle is a good team that is good on their face. And I think has played a bit of a mushy schedule, has done admirably. This just to me does not feel like one. There's kind of two different types of games that the Packers lose a lot of time. One is trap game against crap team with no quarterback. All right.
Right.
So if we were
100%.
playing Seattle
100%.
and Sam Howell was going to be starting, I'd be shaking in my boots. Okay. And maybe that isn't even right. Maybe it would really have to be something like you've like almost never heard of. I don't know. Like Ben DiNucci just signed with the Saints.
I was gonna say,
this
is
morning.
the Saints game that game?
Yeah.
Not
So
ideal,
so
folks.
Ben DiNucci with the Saints might absolutely be that.
That's the
They have
the
a great
shredder.
defensive line, a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah.
A quarterback you've never heard of. I mean, like obviously we know who Ben DiNucci is, but
And they
he's
don't
never
even
been
have
good ever.
They don't have Olave or Shaheed. Like
This is the Saints game is absolutely, if it weren't for Monday night, which like I think the stats would say that they've been better on Sunday night than on Monday night. I'm just saying that off the cuff.
We'll take a peek.
But the Saints game to me is way more in line with the type of game that they lose. So there's two types of games. Crap team with no quarterback, and the Packers just shoot themselves in the foot 100 times. Think back to any of the Giants games we played in the last couple of years. The other one is you go in against an opponent who, like, when you look at them, like maybe they have a couple bad losses earlier in the year, but they've been on a heater and they have this underlying lethality, really good on the offensive line and defensive line. And, it's just a game that somebody has to lose.
Yeah.
That's the other type of game that the Packers lose. And I just don't think that the Seahawks are either one. The Saints, sure, they could. The one thing that gives me pause about this game is JSN and DK.
Yeah.
I have.
Yep.
We have expressed our great frustrations and concerns with the Packers secondary, and I don't think that they have done anything to make us feel good.
No, losing two safeties in a game to injury does not help either. Jair probably not playing this game. I mean, I think again, this is very simple. I think I said it last week, if I remember correctly. I wanted Green Bay to take the ball and score on Detroit, make them chase.
You did. As soon
And
as
they
we
didn't,
deferred,
and they didn't. I was like, "Oh crap!"
I thought about texting you, and I was like, "No,
You
I'm
should
gonna let
have.
him
I was
a moment.
like,
I'm gonna let him have a moment. He needs to."
I was upset. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Now, good news is Green Bay could play from behind, and they've done it. But like, this is another game. I truly think where it's like you want Hafley's defense to kind of mask what's going on the back end with the injuries. Let them play with a lead. Make Seattle chase. Make Geno have to throw it 50 times. And I get it. Like, the passing game is better than the run game, but like making Geno have to push the ball down the field a lot in this one is going to be a problem because that offensive line just will not hold up. They will not hold up over 4 quarters, having to pass protect all game. Like, it's a perfect game to jump out ahead. Perfect.
Well, you're
one,
100% correct, and the ability to take our defensive line out of the run defense game
Yes.
and let him just tee off on Geno.
Yeah.
You're right. That'll help the DBs.
Yeah.
Yes, they're going to get more targets, and Geno's also going to be pressured way more times. So,
And they're probably, the other thing is they're probably going to use the screen game as an extension of the run game in this one, right? Those middle screens that they'll throw to JSN, right? The quick stuff to DK, like they're going to find ways to get the playmakers the ball, make Green Bay tackle after the catch. That is 100% going to be extension of their run game in this one. I know as we mentioned, they found it against Arizona. They found some semblance of run game. The instant that doesn't, the instant they're feeling out like early in the game of like, how's Green Bay going to attack this, blah, blah, blah. If they're not ready for like those screens, Grubb will spam those. He's not afraid to. He was not afraid to at all at Washington. To the trio of receivers he had, usually it was more to Roman and McMillan than it was to Polk, but like he will spam those. He will. The middle screens, get his playmakers the ball like that. That's going to be a part of it. But again, you win those early downs against the run game in this extension of it, like make Geno throw 15-yard digs on 3rd and 11 all game. Like you're going to be able to tee off and win. Like that, it's going to happen. So please build a lead. Just any way you can build a lead in this one and just force them into, a place they don't want to be. A place they were never in last week against Arizona. Like, make them uncomfortable.
Brad makes a good point
will
here
back
in the
down.
chat.
They will back down.
He's glad that this young team has to go to Seattle to experience the noise. We will most likely be back there next month in round 1. I will say, the prospect of dropping this regular season game against Seattle and then ending the season on a 3-game heater versus the Saints and 2 division games, and then going back to Seattle to replay this game again, probably healthier at that point.
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
Oh, no.
I really don't.
No. Not at all. I do think I know Seattle's probably going to be the favorite right now to win the division. I will say they've only played one NFC North game to this point. As crazy as that sounds, usually it's division loaded on this back half. They play Green Bay, Minnesota, at Chicago, at the Rams. So that's their finish. Feel like, if I had to guess now, unfortunately, Arizona's not going to be the team that makes the playoffs in the West. Would have loved to go there round 1. I think Seattle at LA is the division. Week 18. So it's nice that Green Bay's been in LA. I think that's going to be a home game for them, by the way, essentially, if they have to go to the Rams. Like, Green Bay will pack that stadium, like most people do. So, yeah, I don't mind that, like you're saying, either, like Fred said, to get that experience in Seattle, because I don't think it's going to be much of a problem going to LA or Arizona, or there is another team in that division, but we're not talking about that. We're not going to talk about it.
So I do think that Seattle is probably a better team than the Rams this year.
Yeah.
I would maybe argue that the Rams are hotter right now. Just everything's kind of clicking, offense and defense.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm not sure Seattle is. I'm curious. Let's see. Head-to-head record. Seahawks, Rams. Who's been dominating this rivalry recently? It's been the Rams. The Rams have 3 straight wins, and they have won 6 out of the last 8 games. They have won. Holy cow! This is all right. Out of their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Out of their last 15 games, they've won 11.
Yeah, that's pretty one-sided.
So I might take the Rams to beat the
Division
Seahawks.
champs, yeah.
I think this is a case where the Seahawks are probably better. Who would you rather face in the playoffs? You'd rather face the Rams, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd want to
They're kind
face.
of both good at the same things. aren't
Yeah.
they? Like
Essentially,
They're
I think the
eerily-
Rams are better running the football, right? They got Kyron. They have the bigger dudes on the interior who can get that push. So I think offensively, that's a scarier, like well-rounded team than Seattle is. But I think I'd trust McDonald more than oh gosh,
I can't even remember who their
DC.
DC is right now.
I forget his name, but I think that's the deal for me. Like I'm being dead serious right now. I think pretty sure Puka's a top 5
Krishula.
receiver in the league.
Krishula.
Oh, okay. I genuinely believe Puka's a top 5 receiver in this league right now. He is just insanely dangerous. So like I don't think and I think Stafford's a better QB. I think I'd rather play Seattle. I think, like as you mentioned, there are very well defined holes with Seattle's team. On the offensive line, like it's just that's something where they're like, well, what can we do? Like we can't correct this. There's no like guys out there that are going to save our season. So like I think I'd rather play them just because Stafford
The
Puka,
Seahawks.
yeah, Stafford Puka Cup Kyron scares me much more.
Yeah.
Like,
I think all else being equal, and I think we're not there. I don't think we're saying all else being equal. But
Yeah.
if it is all else being equal, Stafford over Geno. I
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
think, by a wide margin.
Yeah. And again, not
Fist doesn't want to see Stokes on Puka. Come on, you don't.
no,
like
brother.
Fun?
No.
You don't like fun.
I don't. If that's fun, that's not. I don't like fun then. I'd much rather
The
see
NFL
Puka.
likes scoring. The
I'd
NFL
much-
likes scoring.
They do.
Scoring is fun.
Then you know what? If NFL likes scoring so much, let's see Puka do that to the Niners on Thursday instead. All right, let's see 7 for $150 against them.
I think Fred
This is
wraps
a
this
fair
up
point.
nicely. On a neutral field, I agree, Seattle. Reality is we'll be on the road. Give me LA over Seattle. Yeah, I don't really want to. What's the name of it right now? Is it Lumen? Is it Lumen
Yeah,
currently?
that's what it's
or did
called.
It change?
That's what it's called
It changed
now.
from CenturyLink to Lumen. I don't want to go
Yes.
to Lumen. Screw that.
I think so, but like, oh man, it is gonna feel like a home game.
I'm
but,
never.
like, I don't.
I'm
like,
never a believer in the Rams ever. Like they're
don't
always
like playing
good
against
and I
Stafford
never.
and Puka, man. I don't like
Yeah.
playing against that. I don't.
I
Even with
get you,
Jair
but also,
back, like yikes, bro. Like Cup doesn't scare me as much because he's not as fast as he used to be. Like that, it's very defined what they have to do to get Cup the ball. They did a nice job this past week against Buffalo, but like Puka's like the problem, like every sense of the word. But yeah, I don't know. I like this. I think this is the way. Find a way to get Arizona back at this sucker so we can play at Arizona round 1. I'm super down for that.
Speaking of playoffs, should we do 3 minutes on the college football playoffs before we wrap for the night?
Sure.
Shout out.
Yeah.
To-
this
oh,
is
go ahead,
obviously-
go ahead.
This is obviously a good point. Yes, you want to build the roster to beat Detroit. I get that, but you also want to build the roster to beat like everybody. I know it's easy to kind of be like, well, the Bills are doing this to beat the Chiefs. Well, like they're doing it to beat everybody, right? Like that. You never know who exactly you're going to face. You don't want to build for one team and not the rest. I think you'd like to build it like Detroit in terms of like absolute dominance on the offensive line and the ability to just get in any kind of set you want offensively and build a tougher defense. Absolutely. I think I'd say not to beat Detroit. I'd say to be like Detroit, even more so. So that's just one quick thought there.
I'm not reading that one. No.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Vic
That
Fred,
is
yes,
how
of course.
Detroit fans
This
talk.
is better.
That's how Detroit fans talk. We are not,
We're not doing
a whiny
that.
fan base.
We don't talk about them. We talk about we got to get better in XYZ areas at the margins to beat that team. That's what it's going to be. But yes, Fred, I think everybody would love to go to Atlanta in the first round. I think Minnesota is hoping that Atlanta can somehow get back on track so they can play him in the first round. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right.
There's no chance that Tampa loses that division though. None.
I don't think so. Even if they lose this week to the Chargers, I still don't think they're gonna lose the division.
I just don't understand how Tampa keeps losing games because
I'm
they
dead
are
serious.
so freaking good.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they're losing games. They're
I
so
don't know.
good.
I mean,
Injuries have played a little bit.
I
of a
will say,
part in it.
I think I got a sneaky feeling this week that Atlanta might lose to Vegas, on Monday night, and that might be the nail in the coffin anyway.
Where's that game being played at?
In
That's
Vegas. It's in Vegas on Monday night. It's one of the 2 Monday night games we have this week.
Dude.
I have this weird, strange feeling about that. I don't like it. I don't like how I feel about it.
Jake, my math strongly favors Vegas if you use the last 3 games.
If O'Connell plays, they're probably gonna win. So
if you use the whole season, not just the last 3 games, it's a coin toss.
sure.
If you split it home versus away, it's a coin toss. If you use the last 3 games, Vegas wins. Let's see here.
It did sound like that to over this, but then it didn't. I don't know what happened. It was a very weird thing that happened. It was oh yeah, Aiden O'Connell's done, and then he's not. So I don't understand. It was very weird.
Atlanta is favored by 5 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
I'm smashing that.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely taking Vegas to cover.
It sounds like a bone bruise. I know he got carted off.
Well, okay, all right. Yeah,
Which is insane. I thought so. But then you read it and they're well, the Ritter revenge game would be nuts. I don't think I'm picking them if Ritter plays. Maybe I still will. But I don't know.
Because I saw this morning that
game,
O'Connell was headed to IR, but that was that was quickly debunked.
Yeah, they're okay, well, it's a bone bruise, and they put a cast on his leg, and they rolled about it was very strange, and then Overshone last night walks off the field, and he tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL.
Who did?
DeMarvion Overshone for Dallas.
Oh.
So he walked off. He tore all 3. Aiden O'Connell got carted off with a cast, and is okay. They think very weird injury kind of ending to the week. So
Is Gardner Minshew still healthy?
no, he's on IR, I believe.
Okay, so it really is O'Connell or Ritter.
Right, it is. Yes.
Bring somebody else in.
Not great.
Bring
They should have
somebody
brought
in
Danucci in. Should have brought Danucci in. Mistakes
off-
were
Probably
made.
shoulda.
Mistakes were made.
I don't even know who else is even available. You could take
Could they ask for Flacco?
take Alex Magoo off our practice
Oh,
squad.
good. They should ask Indy for Flacco for a week if they could borrow.
This is tough. I want to
So.
smash this Vegas +5 on
That's fair.
DraftKings, but also
Yeah,
Desmond Ritter.
it's a tough scene. It's a tough one. Ritter, if Ritter plays, I can't go there. But then again, stranger things have happened too. I don't know. Okay, yeah, we're gonna I think shift to the playoff because I think you wanted to hit that for a few minutes here, really quick. Drop your predictions for Packers Seahawks, folks, down there, and we will throw ours in the mix once that gets populated in chat. So, JJ, if you want to pull up the playoff, that sounds good. I'm gonna hard cut us off for 5 minutes on this.
Okay, so I'm just gonna. I just got the image here. Come on, load, cast. There we go. All right, I want to shout out the North for getting 6 of the 12 playoff spots. I have no complaints. That's exactly what I want. All right, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Did the South stink this
48-2.
year? Yes. Did the Big 12 absolutely blow a chance to have at least 2 teams in two northern teams in.
Listen,
yes.
we know whose fault that is. Okay.
But if
We
we're
know whose fault that
50-50,
is. That's Kansas's fault.
it's
okay. That's Kansas's fault.
I think Tyler Dershel, or maybe it was too old for this, was saying that second half Jordan Love is
It's John Wick?
Wicks.
Yeah.
No, Kansas.
Kansas
second
is
half
John
Kansas.
Wick.
Second half of the
Kansas
season,
is John
Kansas
Wick.
is John Wick. So
Yep. It's true.
yeah, they killed Lance Leopold's dog, and he came back and
Yeah. Then it was
murdered
just like
everybody.
not
Murdered the whole
actually.
Big
Not
12.
actually, but to put
Yeah.
for legal reasons, not actually, but it's a
They
reference
killed his
to the movie
dog.
John Wick.
Yeah, it was special
Yeah.
effects.
Yes.
It was a CGI dog.
Yeah, and they just said, you know what? Well, it's about sending a message. That's what Kansas did there down the stretch. It's about sending a message. Okay.
So Jake,
Wake
I,
up.
I believe, and I'll pin Drew's comment here. Jake, I believe the floor is yours. It's time for you to talk about a team. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. The Boise State Fighting Genties wouldn't be here without him. That's for sure. So, I know Heisman isn't most valuable player, but if it were, there's an obvious one here. They got the 3 seed in the playoff, largely on the back of whatever it was, 2,400 some yards and then like 29 touchdowns. So shout out to Boise State. I think they're going to be added to the northern teams for next year's rankings. Good for them. I said if they made the playoff, that's what we will do. We will do it. We'll make it 29, or we'll relegate Purdue. We'll have those conversations off air. So shout out to Boise State. Good for you guys. Well done. Good stuff on getting the bye. Do I feel like Notre Dame gets cheated a little bit here? Yeah, kind of.
Well, so Drew said Indiana got screwed. Like, I think the state of Indiana is screwed a little bit that the first round of the playoffs
I love this so much. I'll be honest.
is Indiana at Notre Dame. I don't love that.
I love it. I think it's great. I love the idea of that game. I really do. I think it's a phenomenal way to open up the playoffs. I do. Now I get it.
Can I
northern
just say-
teams, sure. It's not great, but
Can I
who
just
else
say
would
real
you
quick,
want opening this? Go ahead.
If somehow Georgia could have been the if Georgia had been the 1 seed, and you have the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State going to play Georgia,
Yeah.
I like that as a fun bowl game, either a Tennessee Georgia or Ohio State Georgia as
Sure.
a fun bowl game, more than I like Indiana or Notre Dame. And let's be real, it's probably going to be Notre Dame.
Probably.
But like
Yeah, I get
Notre
what
Dame,
you're saying.
Georgia, I think this is like maybe just about the worst representation for the North, because Notre Dame is going to crumble in prime time
not
against
great.
Georgia. It's gonna pump up the mighty, amazing Georgia Bulldogs.
So
that Notre Dame
that's
shoots themselves in the foot.
Are they gonna this is what? Yeah, I think you're right. They're gonna melt in that game. Are they gonna squeak by Indiana, and then just kind of have that fuel all
No,
that
I
confidence
think-
build, or do you think it's going to be a significant?
Here's what I think. I think Indiana is probably a better football team than Notre Dame. And I like Indiana versus Georgia more than I like Notre Dame against Georgia. But I also just think that this is going to be a game that gets weird really early. And I think that people come out of the Indiana-Notre Dame game saying that Indiana stinks. And then come out of the Notre Dame-Georgia game saying Notre Dame stinks. And therefore extrapolating and saying, you know what, we were right all along. The North was not that good, and look at how amazing Georgia is. And the reality is, I think it's just maybe not a great matchup for either of those two teams. And
No.
I don't know if this year's Indiana team and this year's Notre Dame team are ready for the bright lights.
Yeah, I have a lot of gripes with the committee this year. And maybe not as much as the committee as the seeding process. Love Boise State. I think it's very silly that they get a bye.
Yeah,
I really
sure.
do. I think it's very silly. And I also think they should be reseeding after these games. They're not going to. It is ridiculous that the Ohio State-Tennessee winner has to play Oregon, and conversely, it is ridiculous that Oregon has to get the winner of that game in the second round. It's very dumb.
I also don't love that game is going to be at the Rose Bowl. Look, here's the thing. I
Yeah.
love the Rose Bowl,
Right.
and I think that the Rose Bowl. I think the Big Ten championship game should just be the Rose Bowl. That's what I think.
That'd be sick.
The Big Ten is now just the
Yeah.
Big Ten and the Pac-12
That's
merged.
not a bad
The
idea.
Big Ten
That's not a bad
championship game
shout.
should just be the Rose Bowl. Here's what I don't like.
Oregon had to travel to Indy.
Ohio State.
What's wrong with traveling to? Yeah, go ahead.
If Ohio State beats Tennessee, which I don't know that they will, but if they do,
I think it's the biggest.
they are
toss-up
going
on there.
back across the country again, and Oregon is just going just a couple hours south to basically just about borderline get a home playoff game. So I just don't love that.
Yeah.
Do I think that Oregon deserved the number 1 seed? Absolutely. Of course they did. Clearly, they were the most deserving of the number 1 seed. But to
Yeah.
your point, the seeding process is wrong.
Horrible.
And Joel Klatt, I think, is the person who came up with this idea.
Okay.
But he just said that maybe he didn't come up with it, but he just said that you can fix everything, except for Boise State getting a bye. You can fix everything by just reseeding after each
Yeah.
round of the playoffs.
They
That's all you
should
have
be
to do.
doing that. Yeah, they should be doing
Because
that.
Oregon should not be playing Tennessee
No.
or Ohio State in round 2.
Which
They should be playing SMU
well,
or Indiana in round 2. That's or Arizona State or Boise State.
Yeah.
One of those 4 teams is who Oregon should be playing in round 2.
yeah. The struggle
Now,
here, right, is again if 5, 6, 7, 8 win, they are playing the lowest seed. Or even if 5, 6, 7 win, right, you're getting 8 or 9 in the reseed anyway. So I get there is part of that. That's the problem. But yeah, if Clemson wins, right, they should be playing Oregon. Like there's no doubt about it.
Sure.
So, but like I think my issue is, and they might tweak this. I think like the 5 conference champs, dope. You're in. That's cool. You're in the playoff. Doesn't mean you're getting a bye. Like it just does not mean you're getting one. I think it's if you're so my right like the 4 buys. Is this your 14 playoff? If you made a 14 playoff, no, it's not. So you can't put them those
I
4
feel
at the
strongly
buy
that
at the buys.
I feel strongly that the top 5 conference winners should get playoff berths. I just
Yes,
don't think that it
100%.
should. I think they shouldn't be seeded 1,
Correct.
2, 3, and 4.
Correct.
Now in the NFL, we do it that way.
We do it, but
But you have parity in the NFL.
yeah,
In college, you're not talking about teams in the same conference. You're talking
No.
about, I mean, literally, year 1, we run into the situation where, hey, Boise State wins their conference, and now they get the 3 seed.
yeah.
Like this.
We're not. Yeah,
So,
like
and by the way,
so
you made a
JJ,
good
can I
point
ask?
here. So if Clemson beats Texas, they don't go to Oregon? Or
No.
they don't go to the Rose Bowl and play Oregon?
No.
That makes no sense. 'Cause
It's
that's
so
not how
dumb.
the NFL works.
It's
In the
yeah,
NFL,
correct.
It would be that way.
Yeah. Clemson is playing Arizona State in the second round if they win. Period. There's no adjustments. That is ridiculous.
Stupid.
The fact that one of Arizona State Clemson being in the semis is nuts anyway, honestly. But like, yeah, it shouldn't be like, yes, okay, conference champ, you're getting like a bye. And like, again, they didn't even, the crazy part is they didn't even respect Clemson for beating SMU in the title game. They put it behind them anyway. So like, why are we putting the conference champ Boise State, Arizona State ahead of teams that were ranked higher than them in the playoff process this entire time just because they won the conference? Like you're not even respecting Clemson then. So like I don't understand that. Like I don't understand that.
Arizona State having a bye is more egregious than Boise State. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, it is. But like I don't understand. That is the part that's driving me nuts. What I just said. Like you're okay, cool. You're rewarding these conference champs with the buys. Why is Clemson the 12? Why are they behind SMU? Because if you're not going to put conference champs ahead of teams they just beat, then why are you giving those teams the buys?
Can we?
In theory, it should be the perfect way to do this is for the buys to be like, okay, who's in your 14 playoff? If you had to make 14 playoff, who are the 4 teams? Those are your buys. That's it. And then you go along the rest of the way. I think it's that simple. So if Boise State's in your top 4, cool, great. They wouldn't be in my top 4 personally for a 14 playoff, so they're not getting a bye for me. It is. It's just I don't understand. The seeding process stinks. When you go 1 through 12, you can just leave them 1 through 12 if you want to.
Yeah.
Like it could be that simple. Like we're not like.
Well,
we don't
it
need to
should be
hoop
1
jump.
through 12, but also I think the top.
But the
5
conference
ranked
champs
champs
would get ahead of
should
like
be
an
in.
11 or an 11 or 12 if they're if they won their yeah.
So
that's totally
There's
fine.
3 things you need to change to I think make this perfect. 1, change the seeding structure the way that you just said it. Do that.
Yeah.
2, reseed after each round. 3, bring back the BCS. Get rid of because the
Right.
problem with the BCS was not the 2 teams that were picked. It was that it was only 2 teams.
Correct. Yes.
So
Someone
bring-
brought this
and
up.
for
yeah.
anybody who doesn't know the BCS, real quick, because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't remember the BCS.
It's been a
BCS
while.
basically was just an algorithm that just said, hey, these two teams are the best teams this year, and it was an algorithm that was a combination of your wins and
of
your
things,
your winning margin. I think didn't they have what's the success rate? Success rate,
I
which is
think
like
so.
a play to play, down to down.
I believe
how
that's
did you
in
do?
there.
So it was just an algorithm, and it just spit out the 2 best teams. And there were no playoffs, and it was just those 2 best teams played each other for the championship. So I think the BCS was fine. And there's a guy out there who still has been using that formula to tell us every year what the BCS, how it would rank the top 25 teams. And it's every time you look at it, you're like, yeah, no, these top 4 teams really should be the playoff. So get
Yeah.
rid of the playoff committee.
Yeah, we
Get
don't need 'em.
freaking Ward Manual out of my face.
We don't need it. We don't need that.
BCS to determine the 12.
Yeah.
Except it, you also
Except conference champs. Yeah.
5 conference champs, but they're
Yeah.
just in. They're not the top 4.
Yeah, they're just in. Like
Now
again,
it's fixed.
we wouldn't have this conversation if Arizona State was just ran through the entire conference, right? Beat 4, ranked teams in their conference and was like either 12-1 or 13-0. We wouldn't be having the conversation. The problem is we know how that they played all year, and to just me look at this and going, yeah, and that's just how. As soon as it came out, it's like it dawned on me. I'm like, the buys should be what the 14 playoff would look like if you did a 14 playoff. And I'm like, it's just, I don't know why it didn't occur to them when they started this 12-team thing of like, yes. So you know what I didn't think of? It's like, you're insane. I don't know how you didn't think of this initially. JJ, do you have like who your top 4 would be off the top of your head right now? Some
no, I
grouping
really
of
don't.
1, 2, 5, 6, 7, probably. One of 4 of those 5. Obviously, Oregon is one of them.
Oregon is clearly number 1. I think Notre Dame is in for me. They're in the top 4.
I would agree.
Oregon and Notre Dame are in. Shoot, everybody else stinks. I'm tempted to put Penn State.
I thought about that too. Yeah.
Maybe
Honestly,
Penn State and Georgia. I think Georgia clearly has the case to be in the playoffs
yeah.
for sure, in the top 4 from a resume standpoint. I think it's that. I think it's Oregon, Georgia.
I think
It's a little tough to leave Texas out, but they lost to Georgia twice. Okay. So Oregon, Georgia,
yeah.
Notre Dame, Penn State, I think is the order I would do them.
Here it is. So the what it would give you actually, the BCS. At
The
least.
BCS?
I think
Yeah.
this is the final rankings. December 8th. Yeah, this would count everything. These would tell you that the 4 buys are Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas. Would actually put Ohio State at 5 and Penn State at 6. I'm not sure I'm on board with that, but if that's what you're doing, cool, that's what you're doing. Ohio State, Texas in the second round potentially would be pretty sick. Indiana's 8. They're hosting a playoff game.
This is such
No
a better
problem with
playoffs
that.
already. This is a
Boise
great
State
playoff.
at Indiana seems perfect. No notes.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah.
no notes. Okay. And then it's Arizona State at Tennessee. Cool. Nice. Very interesting. Could be high flying. if you want, Bama's higher than SMU, so if you're taking that into account, cool. Clemson's clearly in, so they're going to be the 12. The BCS would have Bama over SMU. That's fine. Whatever. It would be Bama at
Wait a
Penn
minute,
State.
wouldn't that be Clemson, Ohio State? If you said
It
Ohio
would.
State was 5, so it'd be Clemson,
Yes.
Ohio State.
Yes, it would.
Which that would be fun because
Wouldn't
anybody
it?
who's not a Clemson or Ohio State fan maybe doesn't think about this. Those
Yeah.
two teams freaking hate each other.
Yeah.
I would say after
Yes, that would be
like so
phenomenal.
Ohio State's only rival is Michigan. But if they had a second rival
Yeah.
for the last
Probably
decade, it would have
is.
been Clemson.
Yeah.
I think maybe if you asked 100 Ohio State fans today who their second rival would be if they had one, they probably would say Georgia.
Yeah.
But if you did it every year over the last decade,
Clemson.
they would say Clemson. And there is so much Clemson hate from Ohio State. Those two teams hate each other. That would be a fun
What a
play.
phenomenal first round. Clemson going to Columbus. Incredible. Like, you're still getting good matchups, but the thing is, you're not going to get a crappy second round matchup. Like, listen, love that SMU made it. That's super cool. SMU Boise State quarterfinal? No, thank you.
So,
No,
Jake,
thank you.
Can we do this? I think I have the perfect way for us to end this show.
Okay. Also,
So-
shout out, what's up, United Bates? How you doing? Good to see you.
So other than the fact that like I'm happy with the 50-50 split of 6 Southern teams, 6 Northern teams, we can kind of agree that we more or less hate this playoff bracket, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we end by putting together the worst possible outcome of this playoff bracket?
Oh, yeah.
Because I have some thoughts, and
I
think
know.
I just got to say, we have to start. We got to work backwards from just one point, and that is,
Yeah.
I think the worst possible outcome is we put together a bunch of crappy matchups, and then Georgia wins it all. Because, like, if anybody else won, let's say that, SMU won, I think we would all think that's kind of fun.
That
though.
would be insane.
Georgia winning is fun for nobody.
Other
This
than
is
Georgia.
If you compare this Georgia team to what Georgia has been, this is the worst version of Georgia we've seen in a while. The media has still not stopped glazing all over Georgia all year, so the media will be proven right, air quotes, proven right. So I think that's the worst possible outcome is Georgia wins, and along the way we get a bunch of crappy games. Do you agree with that, or do you think there's another worse?
I mean,
outcome?
for me, the worst outcome is Clemson winning for sure. To be perfectly honest, I don't
hate
want
Clemson
them to win a
so bad.
single game. I don't like them at all. That would be the worst case scenario. But I understand the perspective of Georgia winning. The problem is by everyone's projections. Like, you look at people just picking this bracket, like everybody thinks it's gonna be Oregon, Georgia, which I would have said the same thing preseason. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was gonna be Oregon, Georgia at the end. I don't know.
Question,
It's like
real quick.
is the worst thing for you? I don't know. Georgia, Tennessee, and Clemson or Texas as your 3 of your final 4 teams there, and the other one's gonna be SMU, Penn State, or Boise State. Right? Is like that
Question,
the worst?
Can you see what I'm drawing here? Like if I
No.
draw like a star here, you don't see that?
I don't see it.
Okay.
But like, do you think there's a scenario where you see Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Indiana? Do you think that's possible?
Oh, I know why you can't see. Hold on, I gotta reshare this.
Oh,
You should be able to see my cursor now, because then I can just
Okay.
actually
okay.
fill this in. Okay, so
Drew says worst would be Arizona State, Texas, Boise State, SMU. That's interesting. Georgia,
So
Indiana.
what I'm
and
doing
then
over here
Oregon,
is going to
Ohio
freeze
State.
the screen for me.
Okay.
So, real quick, can you see me drawing now?
No.
You still don't see it?
No. I see your cursor now. But I don't see the drawing. That's weird.
Here, this should work. This next one should work.
because
Do you see?
yeah, I'm trying
What
to
do you
think.
see on my screen right now? Do you see me moving a box around? Did I still share the wrong thing?
Maybe.
I shared the wrong thing. How am I that incompetent?
Yeah, I don't think Drew points out there's nothing egregious in the BCS seedings, and I tend to agree. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like, oh, that's insane.
Do
It's a
you
little
see
weird.
me drawing now?
Jeff Penn State at 6. Yeah, yes.
You do?
Yep.
Okay, so
We're
now
live.
I can
Yeah.
type in
Okay.
the winners here. Okay, so let's go through here. So
Okay.
take your personal bias out about that you hate Indiana, because you also hate Notre Dame.
I do. But I love this matchup. Honestly. Objectively, I love this. Quite enjoying it.
What is the least fun, worst outcome that you and I collectively and the listeners of this show, and I can't see the comments, so you'll have to tell me if the comments are tuning
Okay.
in. Indiana Notre Dame. What is the worst outcome of that game for this matchup with Georgia?
The worst for just the worst like for Georgia, or the worst just
No,
for
the worst for football fans.
probably a Notre Dame blowout.
Okay.
Because I feel like the Notre Dame blowout then instills some false confidence in Notre Dame, and then they're going to get blown out
Sure.
subsequently. I think that's probably the worst.
All right.
Scenario.
SMU Penn State. I kind of feel like SMU is a worse outcome because
I think so, because
SMU
it's
Boise State.
I think that's a crummy quarterfinal game, kind of. Yeah, I probably.
So like, you kind of feel like whoever ends up playing the winner of SMU Boise State kind of has a cakewalk ahead of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is,
Which is
as you
Georgia.
said, this is set up for Georgia to have essentially a cakewalk to the. Maybe next week we should put together the BCS one
Let's do that. That'd
and
be
go throw it and go throw it together and like, ooh, look at this. This is nice. We don't have to necessarily go
that
through
next
worst
week.
case
That'll be something
scenarios,
fun to
but
look
like that
forward
would
to.
be cool to like visualize it more.
Okay.
Tennessee, probably.
Ohio State.
Probably Tennessee winning. I think it's just a tough. I think it's going to bring about a good Rose Bowl. I think either way. So like it stinks for Oregon. It stinks that the 1 seed is. This is like when in the NCAA tournament, right? You have that one bracket where you go, why is the 1 seed getting like an Elite 4-5, an Elite 3? Like, what are we doing here? While this other bracket is like doo doo. That like a
Right.
12 or 11 seed could win. Like, that's what we're doing here, essentially. That's kind of what has happened with Tennessee, Ohio State, Oregon, all being in this same like little pod. I
Here's
feel
the other
bad.
thing: if Tennessee wins this game, Ryan Day is getting fired. So
Is that a
that's
good
definitely
thing for
happening.
you? Is that a good thing for you, for Ohio
I
State
plead
fans?
the fifth.
Kind of.
This podcast is not the place for me to talk about.
Is
that.
this a Vrabel like? Anyway, I mean, probably Tennessee winning because I think
Would I
everybody
rather
would
have
like to
Vrabel
see
or Ryan Day? I probably would rather have Vrabel.
I
So
think
Tennessee
winning,
here's
right?
The other thing.
Because
Here's the other thing.
doesn't everybody want to see the rematch? Doesn't
So,
everybody
so
want to
that's
see
just
that?
it. So this was
Yeah.
a year where we thought Oregon
We were
and
gonna
Ohio
get that.
State might face off 3 times this season.
Right.
At most,
That's-
we're only
so
going to
that's-
get 2. And if they lose to Tennessee, we only get 1.
Yeah, so I think the worst outcome is Tennessee because you don't get that rematch at all. Yeah,
Okay, so
I
we're
think
putting
that's the worst
Tennessee
case.
here.
Yeah, I think
So then
that's the worst.
Clemson, Texas. I think clearly the worst outcome, unless we want to put Clemson as the winner. I think the worst outcome probably is just Texas, because Texas Arizona State is not as fun of a matchup as Clemson Arizona State. What do you think? What
I don't know.
make a case to me.
Yeah, I'm torn because I think I agree with you, right? Like I think Texas Arizona State is probably a worse game.
Chad,
But-
who would be worse, Clemson or
but-
Texas versus
but-
Arizona State?
Clemson Arizona State is also putting together what I would call a pretty weak quarterfinal. And it's like, we have one quarterfinal that's Tennessee and Oregon in this scenario. You have another final is Notre Dame, Georgia. And then you got 3 teams who probably should be all playing on the road to open up this playoff in the final 8. And
Yeah,
all 4 of
I'm
them
just
are against
realizing
each
here-
other.
If Texas is here in the semifinals, or sorry, if Texas is not here in the semifinals, and it's either Clemson or Arizona State,
Yeah.
I'm probably getting ahead of myself. What we are setting up is the easiest path in the world for some teams that shouldn't be there, and we don't want this. So let's start here. So Georgia beating Notre Dame is the worst outcome for everybody, even though a lot of people hate Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only like positive, in my opinion, is it's at least setting up Oregon, Georgia in a title game where, like, if I feel like if Notre Dame wins over Georgia, is Oregon Tennessee the championship game? I'm being dead serious.
I mean,
is that the
if we're
championship
putting
game?
Together, yeah, I mean, if we're putting together the worst bracket, Tennessee clearly beats Oregon here.
No, that's what I'm saying though. But if Notre Dame beats Georgia, is the Rose Bowl the championship game? Essentially.
No, because
might
I would have Notre Dame in contention at that point, though. If Notre Dame beats Georgia, and it's Tennessee, Oregon, I still think the winner of this
Notre
game
Dame
against
could
Notre
take-
Dame would be fun.
See, I think Oregon against Notre Dame is.
Yeah, but what if
It's
Tennessee
like
beat Oregon?
it's like Notre Dame, Bama.
You're telling me Tennessee, Notre Dame, national championship game, you are just easily taking Tennessee over Notre Dame?
As somebody who doesn't believe in Notre Dame big games, yeah, kind of. But it is a first year starting, like full year starting quarterback. So it'd probably be a compelling title game. I just don't like it.
With these other two brackets that we had to fill in here, SMU, Boise State, and Clemson, Arizona State, this I think is tougher because we've created two
problem
where like Tennessee is going to get a cakewalk and Georgia's going to get a cakewalk. But like,
I think
is it more of an eye roll to say like, oh, Georgia beat a group of 4 team, or
I think the better
like
case is SMU winning. So I think it's worst case scenario if Boise wins.
I kind of think so.
I think
But
Boise has
also,
one
like,
player.
It's SMU.
Like Boise has one player. Respectfully.
You know,
They respectfully have one player on their team.
Here's the other thing that could make this terrible is if Georgia just dog walks Boise State, and they will.
That's what I mean. Like, I think this is the worst. I think SMU will fight. I truly think SMU would fight, which that's why I think Boise State's the worst case here.
Well, here's the other reason that it's the worst is that if Georgia beats Boise State, and they will, you come out of that game, the Georgia-Boise State game, with some people saying that Ashton Genty was overrated.
Probably right. You make
Which
some good
is
points.
just another reason why
That's another worst case scenario. So yeah, I like what we're doing here. This is the worst.
Clemson,
case.
Arizona State. I kind of feel like the loser of this game is just America.
I think I personally would rather Arizona State win. This is kind of like I know Texas is a Southern team, but I think it's more compelling if imagine Texas turning to Arch and making the run. I think that's more compelling than Dabo being in this again with a team that you could argue shouldn't be here.
I mean,
I don't love the scenario.
You think about like when people were the most frustrated with the 4-team playoffs, it was because every year it was Bama and Tennessee. So if all of a sudden, or not
Clemson,
Bama and Clemson,
right?
So if all of a sudden Clemson's is back
making
in
runs,
the Natty again, like just vomit.
Clemson, Georgia, is that what we're doing here?
But I also think Tennessee, Georgia is awful too.
At least that game was decent, but I don't. Again,
Dude, this might be.
I know.
Clemson, Georgia might be the worst possible outcome.
I kind of think it is. I know Tennessee, Georgia is like all SEC and not cool, but if you're making the case, JJ at least, that Georgia getting a cakewalk run is the worst. Tennessee at least fought them. I don't think Clemson's going to fight them.
I mean, this might
I
be
think they're
another
gonna get
like
outclassed.
Georgia TCU.
Yeah,
Natty.
I think this is an outclassed type of deal.
Did anybody even watch the Georgia TCU Natty? Clearly Georgia Ohio State.
What are we talking about?
The Natty.
We already saw this game.
Georgia Clemson.
Yeah, we already saw this. It was 38-3. And I get Clemson's probably improved since then, but we saw this game. That's why it's the worst.
So it's a rematch.
A rematch of a
crappy
bad
game.
rematch. Yes, this is the worst. It is. We've had this game. This game was 38-3.
Here
We
you
had
go.
this game.
Worst
That's
outcome.
why. That's why.
This is the worst possible
I think it is.
bracket.
I think it is.
All right, I'm
I
gonna
think
tweet
it
it.
is.
I'm gonna tweet it.
I think it's the
It's
worst.
the worst possible.
Just because, again, you're not getting like any sort of like Georgia's not playing a game other than maybe Notre Dame where it's like, oh, that's like decently compelling. You're getting Georgia against the Fighting Genties, and you're getting Georgia against the team they beat by 35 earlier the year. Like, this is not great. And again, that's why you look at those Boise State, Arizona State buys, and you're like, what the heck are we doing? Like, where was it? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we're going to do this next week. But, like, doesn't Georgia Penn State second round sound kind of like a good time?
Absolutely. Like, do I think that Penn State probably loses that game? Yes.
Sure, but
is
like-
it still a fun game I want to watch?
Yes. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Let's boogie. Let's have a good time. Let's play some ball.
That would be a blast.
Yeah.
That would be a blast.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, is
well,
that
listen.
right? Is that right? No.
I don't think it is.
No, it's not. I was looking at the wrong one.
I was
Ohio
agreeing
State,
that it would be
Texas.
fun, not
Ohio
that it
State,
was-
Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame. This is the higher seeds win. Georgia, Indiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and Oregon, Indiana. Oregon, Indiana. We wanted to see it. Like, yeah, sign me up.
Well,
And
Jake,
if
good
Boise
job.
beats Indiana, we get Genty against Oregon again, 37-34. We saw that game. It was great. Like, ours is better. BCS is better.
So do we not need to do the BCS bracket again next week?
No, we're doing it. This was a fun time. I can't wait.
So Drew makes 1 point here. Tennessee, Georgia for an all SEC finals would suck. I do agree. Yeah, I agree.
But it was a better game than Georgia Gloves it was.
Anything
And
is
we already
better.
saw that. And we don't need to see that again. That was disgusting.
Honestly,
It was great, but it
there's
was
one team that really did get gypped though that belonged here, and that was Fancy Illinois. Fancy Illinois should be here. Illinois, heck no. Fancy Illinois.
Fancy Illinois in the playoff, baby. Also, shout out to Army. We're thinking about you all right now. We are thinking about you guys. I promise. I the first thing I tweeted Sunday morning was Army over SMU. Okay? Because I believe. All right? That was an
Easily.
awesome season for you guys. So shout out to you guys.
And shout out to
we see
Jake
you.
for cutting us off at 5 minutes on the playoff discussion like he said he was going to.
For sure.
Good timing on that.
sure.
Listen, it's happened again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour, 2 hours, two and a half
2.5.
hours listening to us here on Derailed. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you. Please tell a friend. Donate
Yes.
next week so we can get some cashola, keep this thing going. And above all, in the words of the late great, esteemed Mr. Ed Policy, go.